person at the City Council chambers and remotely. Anybody that requests the Zoom link to join us, that was sent through the city clerk. This meeting also is being conducted through our social media live on the Facebook Lawrence City Council page, as well as the YouTube Lawrence City Council page. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilor Levy.
Present.
Councilor LaPlante.
Present.
Councilor Luzon.
Present.
Councilor Del Rosario.
Present.
Councilor Santiago.
Present.
Councilor Marmol.
Present.
Councilor Reyes.
Present.
Vice President Infante.
Present.
Council President Rodriguez.
Present. Please join me for a moment of silence. Now join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The 19th, November 19th.
Councilors, we have a minute to approve for the regular meeting regarding to the November 19, 2024. Can I get a motion to approve this minutes?
Second.
There's a motion to approve the minutes. Properly second discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. We're going to pursue with public participation. We have a list that everybody signed, and we are going to pursue it by calling these names. The rules for the public participation are as follows. Everybody's going to have 2.5 minutes to speak. At the 2-minute mark, you're going to hear it sounds or something indicating that you still have 30 seconds to speak. Please refer to this council as a whole, not to any individual councilors. The first person that we have on the list is H. Mali. Name and address for the record, please.
Humayun Mali, 53 Chester Street. Good evening, honorable members. In this important season of joy and celebration, we, the citizens of this great city, proud to support Lawrence police officers. Lawrence Police, this union of pride and honor, with the impeccable leadership by Honorable Chief Bonilla, doing excellent job to protect our citizens. We are united to support our Lawrence Police Officers Union, Seniors Officers Union. Thank you for excellent job. Million thanks to our DPW employees. We support our hard-working employees of the DPW and their leadership. Thank you. You deserve the best compensation. We support our inspection department employees and the union. Thank you for excellent job. We must hire more inspectors now. Lawrence Public School, with the impeccable leadership by Honorable Ralph Guerrero, moving forward. Lawrence, we are proud to support Lawrence Teachers Union, demand the best compensation for our public school employees and teachers. Lawrence, one city under God, we are the best example of support and respect of union right from our police officers union, firefighters, DPW and inspection department. Please help our homeless every Wednesday, bring food and help them. We demand the best contract for our brave firefighters. Lawrence always strong. Lawrence always unite. In this important holiday season, we wish the best new holiday for our police officers. Pray for the safety of all police officers. Lawrence Police, thank you for excellent job.
Natasha Alba, name and address for the record, please.
I'm Natasha Alba at 236 Lawrence Street in Lawrence. I'm a resident and someone who works in the substance use field. I've been in the field for the past 4 years, started during the pandemic. And I wanted to mainly address some of the information that I heard in the last city council meeting in regards to the issues of substance use and the treatment, right? And also to discuss what was on the agenda for the proposed anti-camping ordinance. Just wanted to put my point of view as a resident and somebody that works in the field. MAT, which is medicated assisted treatment, is an approach that is evidence-based, and that includes methadone. Methadone does not increase homelessness or add addictive behavior, actually increases recovery, which is our goal, right, to try to get these people off the streets by increasing recovery. MAT does that for individuals. It also allows for pregnant women to seek services. Methadone is the only evidence-based treatment for those people, pregnant women especially. So if we limit those resources, you're pretty much asking for a death sentence for these people, right? You're reducing their barriers to recovery. It decreases overdose, right? And that is what MAT does. It improves recovery rates. In addressing the Safe Syringe program that the city has. The city had a HIV outbreak back in 2018, 2019. That was caused due to the spread of unsafe needles being spread. The Safe Syringe program was created by the federal government to be able to reduce the HIV outbreak. Lawrence doesn't have an HIV outbreak because of these Safe Syringe programs. We also do dispose them, but we all distribute them, but we also pick them up. And unfortunately, there is only one company here that is picking up these needles, and the burden has to be removed from these companies. They're not enabling, they are trying to increase recovery resources. My time is limited, but I would ask you guys to educate yourself before you guys spread misinformation. This is going to be detrimental, especially for the families and anybody seeking recovery. You guys as leaders have a responsibility to educate yourself and spread correct information and not incorrect ones. The anti-camp ordinance.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. The
Okay.
next person is Ingrid Tabernal. Name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Ingrid Tevenal, and my address is 370 Woburn Street. I was born and raised in Lawrence, and I'm an independent contractor for the mayor's health task force. I try to provide resources to the homeless. I try to get those that want to go into treatment a bed somewhere. We don't offer that here. We don't have anywhere where we can provide a place for our residents to get treatment. It's a challenge that I face all the time, and I'm referring our residents to different cities to get treatment. And then when they do get better, a lot of them don't come back. So they become productive members of those cities. When I think that we should be able to try to find a place that we can have these people here, that live here, that love this community, that are from here, and be productive members here in our own society, in our own community. So that's all I have to say.
All right, thank you. The next person is Ana Javier. Name and address for the record, please.
Just give me 2 minutes. Good evening,
It doesn't work
everyone.
that way. How you doing?
thank
Name
you.
and address for the record, please.
My name is Ana Javier, and I live at 250 Merrimack Street here in the city of Lawrence. I've been a resident of Lawrence for 47 years, and I also work in this field. I just want to speak a little bit about docket number 55124. And so I work as a overdose prevention coordinator with Lawrence Methuen Community Coalition on a full-time basis. I'm also the founder of Time for Change Ministry, which is a faith-based organization that works with individuals that are struggling with substance misuse. We facilitate 4 support groups a week, bilingual and 2 in Spanish, for individuals that are struggling with substance use. And having these weekly support groups tells me that we have problems in our city, that we have people that are struggling in our very own community. I see people come and go from one place to the next one, from one city to the other. As one of my colleagues was saying, we do not have a place here in the city, so we also send our people to other cities, and I just want to make sure that we know that. So we have a health crisis, and I've been sitting on tables for many, many years trying to look for solutions where we sit on tables and have people talk to us about a plan that we need to put in place in the city for winter protocol, let's say, and we never really come up with a real plan. And I think this plan of the situation that we have with the encampments, I think we don't have a plan right now. And I think as a community, we need to realize that we also have the side of being human. So therefore, we need to develop a plan that will work for the community as a whole before we try to move forward and taking any other actions. I want to keep it short, but we just want to bring that to you. I know this is more to come, but I would like to see that before we pass any of this, we make any of these, before we move forward with these items, we should also include the community. And I think a public hearing, if we needed to do it, I think it's very important for us as a community. Thank you.
The next person that we have is Rich Russell, Councilor Russell.
Good evening, councilors. Richard Russell, 34 Cross Street. Usually I try to keep my comments at public participation light, humorous, and sometimes cutting. Tonight I'm going in for the kill. I want to thank those of you who supported the school committee takeover attempt orchestrated by the third floor. I hope all of you that voted for the home rule petition that has morphed into House 5089 on Beacon Hill will get a copy of the U.S. Constitution and read it. There will be a test on it next September. It's called Primary Election Day. I've stayed away from school system issues because the entire system is broken. Wokeness sounded a death toll on the proper education system. Politicians should stay in the political system. Educators should stay in the educational system. 5 or so years ago, I testified before the Haverhill City Council to explain how a district-wide school committee would work. They, at the time, had at-large school committee members. Haverhill ultimately went to district representation for their school committee. What H5089 will do, if passed, will give the mayor 4 votes on school issues. The 3 at-large members can live anywhere in the city. Presently, we have 3 city councilors at large that live in districts A, D, and E. All districts have a district councilor. If H5089 gets passed, those who voted for this home rule petition will allow the possibility of anywhere from 3 to 5 districts not having any say in the running of the school system that their children will attend. Those that know me that I'm a constitutionalist. That is, 1 man, 1 vote, not 1 mayor, 4 votes. Besides, what's the mayor's track history in attending school committee meetings? Please contact your legislators to tell them to vote no on H059. As always, I thank you for the time.
The next person that we have is Michael Jackson. Name and address for the record.
Dios bendiga. ¿Puedo hablar en español?
Sí.
Sí. Amén. Mi nombre es Michael Jackson, ¿verdad? Soy residente de la ciudad de Loren hace más de 20 años. Vivo en el 169 de la Ferry Street, en Loren. Soy el director de una capellanía de la Embassy United of Chaplain, donde tenemos sobre 100 capellanes trabajando para la ciudad en Lawrence, ayudando con la comunidad de los homeless, los necesitados, y ese es el trabajo que todos los días nosotros hacemos para ayudar a esta comunidad. Simplemente quiero decir que creo que hay que escuchar más a la comunidad, porque así como habemos muchos hoy aquí que estamos abogando por ellos, así hay muchos que tienen un amor hacia estas personas que están allá afuera, que realmente entendemos que tienen una enfermedad, pero sabemos que el Dios Todopoderoso los puede librar y que rompe cadenas y el Señor puede liberarlos, porque hemos ganado muchas vidas de las calles los hemos ganado para el Señor, los hemos ganado para Cristo y hoy le sirven al Señor. Entonces creemos que puede haber una recuperación y si todos nos unimos en una misma visión y todos nos ayudamos, pues podemos hacer cosas grandes en esta ciudad y podemos seguir trabajando de una mejor forma. Así que solamente les pido, ¿verdad?, que chequeen esa enmienda que quieren aprobar y que hablen con la comunidad, que yo sé que hay gente que va a abogar por estas personas que necesitan en la calle y en la comunidad de Loren. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. With that said, we're going to submit all these names for the record. And we're going to...
Council President, I'd like to make a motion.
Councilor Blunt?
I'd like to make a motion to reconsider the vote on the minutes for November the 19th.
It's a motion to reconsideration,
Second.
properly second. Any discussion? I hear none. All those in favor of reconsideration, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Any nays? The ayes have it.
Council President, just
Blunt?
one small technicality on the first page of that. Next to my name, it didn't have anything next to it, and I was there present for the vote. I know that the 9 was 9-0 for that first vote. On the page, on November 19th, page 1, second series of votes. So just make sure that there's a yes next to my name. It's just empty, that's all. And if we can make that change, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, we will make that change by hand now, and then we will submit that for the record.
Sure.
And
like to
that
make-
way,
I'd like to
we
make a
can
motion that we approve the minutes.
there is a motion to approve the minutes with the recommended change that is being requested. Properly second. Any discussion? I hear none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you, Councilor Blunt. We're gonna go straight to public hearing, and the first public hearing that we're gonna hear tonight is the 50324, which is the fiscal year 2025 property tax classification hearing. The Chief Assessor, Alexis Vega, is here with us. Madam Claire, please read the notice for the record.
President. Document number 503-24 is the public hearing notice as published in the Eagle Tribune. Reads, in accordance with Chapter 40, Section 56, and other applicable provisions of the Massachusetts General Law, notice is hereby given that the City Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, December 3rd, 2024, in the Council Chambers, 200 Common Street, Lawrence, Mass. At 7 p.m. The purpose of the hearing is to gather testimony, information, and public input concerning the proposed approval of the split tax rate, which shifts the tax burden between the residential properties and commercial, industrial, and personal property classes for FY 2025 in order to establish a residential and commercial tax rate for the city of Lawrence, Massachusetts. Interested taxpayers are encouraged to present information by appearing at the public hearing. Written comments and information may be submitted on the matter. Please forward any written comments to the Office of the City Clerk, 200 Common Street, Room 107, Lawrence, Mass. 01840, on or before 4 p.m. on Tuesday, December 3rd, 2004. Persons wishing to be heard on the matter shall be afforded the opportunity.
Public hearing is now open. Anybody from the public that wishes to speak on this matter? Item 503-24. Anybody for the public hearing? So there is nobody for the public hearing. At this point, we are closing the public hearing. Councilors, we need a motion for the purpose of discussion so we can allow the chief assessor to present the item. So what's the motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt residential factor 1.75, which is the most friendly for single-family homeowners.
There is a motion to approve, to accept the factor 1.75, and it's been properly seconded. Before we call for the vote, we would like to allow the chief assessor to present to us, including the city of Lawrence in general, what this means and what we're talking about. Thank you and welcome Alexi Vega, the Chief Assessor of the city of Lawrence.
Good evening, Councilors. Alexi Vega, 14 Cornish Road. So last week, the Department of Revenue certified our property values, which allows us to conduct this meeting this evening. This meeting happens throughout the Commonwealth of Massachusetts around this time, which is a great thing. So we're moving forward. In order for us to send our third quarter tax bills, we asked the city councilors to adopt the factor which Councilor Plant did so, and choosing the highest potential tax shift of the tax burden from the residential class to the commercial, industrial, and personal property. So again, the purpose of the hearing is for the city councilors to adopt the factor, which shifts the tax burden. The maximum allowed shift for this year is 1.75. The councilors did vote on a budget in June. So basically what the assessors did is take that levy amount divided by the total value of the city of Lawrence to come up with a single tax rate. The city of Lawrence has never had a single tax rate, and we're here to ask to adopt the factor so that we can submit the numbers to the state for certification. This year was our 5-year reval of the city of Lawrence, and as I stated before during this council meetings or in our bond rating calls, that if you own property in the city of Lawrence, you're doing really well for yourself as far as valuation and equity is concerned. So this year, for our reval, we had to use certain criteria that the state mandates us to do, is use all of calendar year 2023 sales that were recorded at the Registry of Deeds. What we do is take those sales and determine which sales are arm's length sales, meaning a willing buyer and a willing seller under no compulsion to buy or sell, no distressed properties, no foreclosure properties. Those are excluded from our analysis. So based on our analysis of all sales, the city of Lawrence total valuation is $8.4 billion. Again, this is an increase of 10.1% over last year's historical high numbers of $7.6 billion. Property values across the entire class of properties have increased year over year. For this year, residential tax values increased 10.2%, commercial 10.4%, industrial 9.7%, and personal property 8.2%. The average single-family home assessed value in FY25 is $450,000. This is an increase of 11% over last year's $405,000. The median sale prices year over year have increased, and we're seeing those historical numbers again for the future. So FY26, we're going to be using 24 sales. Those numbers have increased. So it's continued to be a blessing for property owners in the city of Lawrence. In this slide, you'll see a 3-year comparison of what has taken place over the years. As you can see, again, historically, those numbers have increased year over year, and I just did the last 3 years. Toward the bottom right, you'll see the amount of money that the city has raised in taxes, tax dollars. In FY23, we raised $82.9 million, FY24, $84.4 million, and FY25, $87.7 million. And again, these numbers of the levy amount raised through taxation is adopted during the budget in June. And that's the number I used for this presentation. The DOR allows the communities in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to raise taxes each year by Proposition 2.5. That number is determined by the Commissioner of the Department of Revenue. And for this year, the Proposition 2.5 limitations is $2.4 million. On top of that, you are allowed to increase whatever new growth has transpired through new construction, permits that were issued from the building inspector's office, anything new that has been added to the tax rolls. For instance, you have an exempt parcels, city councilors throughout the year sell land, sell buildings. Those are added to the tax rolls, which increase our tax base, and we're allowed to use that in our new growth projections. You also have special tax incentives, like a TIF or a TIE. Those programs are added back to the tax rolls, which for this year, again, historical high numbers. What we budgeted in the city projected in January was about $900,000. We were optimistic as far as what was out there, what was completed, So we were conservative with our numbers in the beginning of the year, but when we presented the numbers to the state after doing data collections, inspections, that number came in at $1,420,114, and that number was certified by the Department of Revenue last week. The next slide, you'll see a 10-year stats of the tax levy growth. Again, these numbers have been well over $1 million, which is a blessing considering that the tax rate has gone down year after year. And again, I think I'll do a better job in projecting the new growth for FY26 because we are seeing tremendous amount of new construction now in the field. And these projects are continuing to grow month after month. There's no delays, there's no stalling. So contractors are doing a great job, and investors are as well. Putting abandoned buildings back on the tax rolls or converting mill buildings into residential, which is a trend throughout the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. If the city councilors didn't have a split tax rate, again, you basically take what the value is for the city divided by the levy amount that you're raising each year, and voila, we have a tax rate of $10.45 for this year, which is, again, historically low numbers. What you see in the trending is when values go up, tax rate goes down. It's happening again this year, which is a great thing. Here you see historical tax information. Some of the city councilors love to see this slide. Gives you, what has been happening in the past. Obviously, you can't determine or do anything in the future without knowing what's happening in the past. So historically, the city councilors have voted to shift the tax burden from the residential side to the commercial, industrial, and personal property side. So I just did a hypothetical what-if scenario in the bottom right. You'll see for 2025, tax levy amount, which the councilors voted on, was $87.7 million. Tax shift of 1.75 gives you a tax rate for the residential of $8.74 and commercial industrial rate of $18.29. I don't think you're going to see those numbers anywhere in the Merrimack Valley. Slide number 10, this is the limitation that the DOR mandates the assessors to use. With this, you can see what we use to determine the levy limit is last year's levy limit, and we carry that number down to determine how much you city councilors could potentially raise. So last year's levy limit was $97.5 million. Multiply that by 2.5%. Brings you to $2.4 million. That number is determined by the Department of Revenue. The new growth is submitted by the assessors to the DOR for certification. And the DOR certified $1.4 million. Councilors could raise $101 million in taxation for FY25. You chose not to. You chose to actually raise the levy amount of $87.8 million, which leaves on the table $13.6 million in excess levy capacity, which is a blessing. And as a taxpayer in the city of Lawrence, I thank you for that. The average single-family home tax bill, which is our largest class of properties, this year would go up slightly from last year's $3,754 to $3,933. The next 6 slides would be what the shift would mean to the average taxpayer if you adopt a factor of 1.70. Again, you can adopt a factor of 1, which is a single rate, and obviously tax bills will skyrocket for the residential homeowners. A factor of 1.74 would mean that the commercial will see a better discounted tax bill than the residential side. As Councilor LaPlante suggested, to vote on a factor 1.75, so I'll just go through these slides fairly quickly so you can see the impact on the tax bill of the residential homeowner of a single-family home. Slide of 170 would mean a tax bill increase of $234 or 6.2%. Factor 171, tax bill increase of $220, tax bill difference of 5.9%. 1.72, increases the single-family home to $211, or 5.6%. 1.73 increases to $202, or 5.4%. 174 increases the single-family homeowners to $189, or 5%, and a factor of 1.75, which is the highest allowable by law to shift the tax burden, again, from the residential to commercial, industrial, and personal property, is $180, or 4.8%. Next slide gives you a comparison of the residential tax rate of each factor. So this sums every factor I just highlighted. And on the bottom right is the commercial tax bill impact of each factor based on the tax bill amount or assessment. Here's another slide. Again, councilors have asked for what is Lawrence compared to other communities, and you can see we're one of the lowest tax bills around. I can only use 2024 tax bill comparison because most of the tax bills, the tax rates for other communities have not been certified. So they're in the queue to get certified, just like Lawrence after this meeting. I believe Springfield and Lowell were the only ones that were certified, and their bills went up significantly. We are at the tail end of our tax billing cycle, so we need the councilors to adopt the factors so that we can prepare the tax rate, get that rate certified by the Department of Revenue. It usually takes about 5 days in the interim. I'll be working on the tax bills for the third quarter, which hopefully will be issued January 1. If taxpayers are aggrieved by their evaluation, they can come into the assessor's office. There'll be a highlighted note on their property tax bill, which would allow the taxpayers to file an appeal, which means you have 30 days to come into the assessor's office if they feel that their assessment is too high, their classified property is incorrect. Let's say we have it classified, we're not perfect. We have your property classified as a 3-family, but technically it's a 2-family. It happens, they have a right to appeal, and we'll make that determination. We have 90 days from the time the taxpayers file the appeal to grant or deny their abatement. And for FY25 councilors, we only had 30 abatement applications, granted probably half. So we're pretty on target with our valuation throughout the year. And we have any questions, councilors, here's our contact information. The presentation is available on the webpage, and we have handouts as well. That concludes our presentation, but I'll entertain any questions.
Thank you, Chief Assessor Vegas. Can you touch base a little more when it comes to the split taxes that the city of Lawrence have? How many cities and towns are using that methodology, and how many other cities and towns are using the straight?
Absolutely. So one of the slides that shows the beginning of the presentation is about 110 communities with a split tax rate, and Lawrence has had one since 1982. So if you don't have a split tax rate, it probably means they have a balance in their commercial and residential tax valuation. Lawrence is pretty much 80% residential and valuation 20% commercial. By shifting the burden, we decreased the valuation of Lawrence to roughly around 67% and then 33% to commercial. So it balances out.
Understand. Councilors, we have a motion on the table to approve that factor of 1.75. That motion was made by Councilor LaPlante and second by Council. No, who was it? Who's on record? Councilor Santiago.
No, I'm sorry.
I'm
There
sorry.
was two. Reconsider the minutes. My bad. I apologize. I'm interrupted.
So we have a motion and it was properly second.
Yeah, it was
Councilor Vice President Infante second the motion. Councilors, any questions in regard to adopting the factor of 1.75, which it's going to increase the taxes for that single family and an average of $179 to the residential single. Condominium will be an increase of about, an average, $142. 2 families will be $291 an average. three families going to increase of, we're gonna have an increasement of about $128, and commercial will be an average increase of $536, and industrial will be an average of $1,454 with the factor of 1.75. Any questions on this?
Council President.
Councilor Levy.
Thank you, Council President. You mentioned that the tax levy growth is 1,420,000. This is what it was certified.
Correct.
So, and we approve this year an increase just only up to $900,000.
Correct.
So what is going to happen, with the difference, in between right now?
The CAFO is here. So I know I'm instructed to use the budget that was approved in June of $900,000 plus Proposition 2.5. So that's what I did. That's the presentation. The extra amount in new growth typically is raised in taxes. So
That on the budget, we approved the $900,000 for the new growth, which was a conservative estimate back in June. But now we have $1.4 million that's what's going to be collected, right?
Yeah, the new growth will increase from 900 to 1.42 million. And what we'll do on the final tax recap is we usually adjust our estimated receipts to account for the new growth.
So,
Budget still balances the same way as it was passed.
so the budget is balanced with the 900,000. So the rest of the money, where is going to go, to what account?
What we'll do it on the final tax recap, which after if this gets approved, we'll be able to submit a final tax recap to the state, which shows the revenues and expenditures for the city for this upcoming year. And we'll adjust that from our pro forma or estimated tax recap. We'll adjust that 900,000 to 1.4 million, which will increase the property tax levy that we submitted, but will decrease our estimated receipts, so the budget that we have comes out the same.
So what is going to happen? Okay, so the next year, because this year we increased practically 2.3, 2.4, something like that, in taxes. Can
Right.
be also help to reduce in case that we're going to increase the taxes. It's going to help also.
Well, for the next year, you
For
mean?
the next
Well,
year.
next year, it'll be depend on what the budget gets submitted at. We have an excess tax levy capacity of 13.5 million roughly, which over the last several years amounts to over 70 million or almost $80 million that has not been taxed to the taxpayers over the last 8 or 10 years or so. So next year, again, depends on the budget that's submitted. Will we be able to do it with just a Prop 2.5% increase, or will we have to use, depending on what the budget is, use some of the excess tax levy capacity? You can increase it higher, or not go up the full 2.5% and cut the budget accordingly. So next year will be, depends on what next year's budget is, will depend on what the taxes are. Taxes are, our total revenue, total budget's 350 million. Taxes are about 80, almost 90 million. So the rest of it, the rest of our budget's made up by mostly state aid, and then our local receipts are about 21, 22 million. So we count on, those are the building permits and the interest income on our accounts. Motor vehicle excise is our biggest local receipt. Thankfully, people keep buying cars here. I'm always surprised that our motor vehicle excise taxes keep increasing, but that's a great thing to help the budget out. But those are all the components, the major components of our annual budget is, again, state aid is over 200 million. We've got property taxes are almost 90 million. Local receipts are 22 million, and then there's various other smaller receipts to make up the total budget.
But to what account this part of the money go right now?
It's not, it's, what do you mean, account? It's
We
gonna-
had a
it's gonna
couple of
sup-
different
it's
accounts.
Supporting the budget, it's supporting the budget, we're not, we're not gonna go back and take the 500,000 extra new growth and add 500,000 in next year's budget. We're going to leave the budget as it is, take the 500,000 that we can now get from taxes and reduce the local receipts. And that'll end up in free cash.
Then yes,
If we don't-
that's
if we don't
that's
spend.
the final answer. That's how you see the free cash increasing sometime, because we sometimes conservative on the
Conversely, if the estimated receipts, because they're just estimated, we don't get those estimated receipts, we have a decrease to free cash. So, that's why we're always trying to be as conservative as we can with those local receipts, because that's the number we have most control over, the 22 million bucks, but that's not a lot on a $400 million budget. So, but that's what we'll do. Instead of 22 million, we'll put our local receipts down to 21.5 million, and hopefully we'll exceed that. The one caveat for next year, particularly with local receipts, are interest income. As people know, the Feds, are decreasing rates. Our interest income on our bank accounts is decreasing, and also we spend a lot. We're spending a lot more this year than is last year. So we did decrease the interest income that we plan on earning on our local receipts from 10 million down to 7 million for the next budget year. But even 7 million, I mean, that's if the interest rates decrease, that'll drop. So local receipts are very tricky, because of the motor vehicle excise and interest income is probably our biggest items on the local receipt side.
Councilor Levy, any other questions?
I haven't finished it yet. So last year we were certified as an A+.
Yes.
Okay, and this year, because I haven't heard anything.
Well, A+, our rating hasn't changed in the last few years. We got an increase a couple of years ago from A to A+. That was a major thing for the city. I'd like to see the city get to be AA. That would be our next step. But S&P hasn't, again, mainly because of the city's demographics. Our median income is below state average. Some of the things that we have no control over really are some of the reasons why we don't get that extra rating. We're not an affluent community, but the cities, they do cite the city's handling of its budget and its reserves and so forth to maintain our A+ rating. So we're in pretty good shape.
Okay, thank you. So the final question I have is for Alex, please. Okay, so single tax rate, you mentioned that this is the first time that we are going, or that we are on a single tax rate?
No, we haven't
No,
used a
split.
single tax rate since the 80s.
So since the 80,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you.
Councilor Rosario.
Thank you, through you. And the council probably might stand up once again.
Mr. Cafu.
If, according to our numbers, we're positive, we have a super AVI, we have all this money, then we conservative budgeted at 900,000 for the new growth. In Sullivan Sands, we have $1.4 million. Why don't we inject that into this tax levy and alleviate the taxes on the constituents? Instead of that, we're taking $500,000 away to do what you're explaining now that we're doing, but we're putting the heavy lift on the constituents. And why is that?
Well, as I don't think we put a heavy lift on the constituents. Again, they've received, pull it out to be specific.
And I also would like to know if we would apply the $1.4 million into it completely instead of 900,000 that we budgeted, what would be the difference on paying on the taxes?
Be marginal, but it's, again, the taxpayers, we've saved by not going up to the full 2.5 levy, we have not taxed $70 million to taxpayers since roughly 2015, so 9 years, 70 million. So if we had went up Prop 2.5 the way way I recommended the city to do, we would have 70 million in the bank, or we'd have done something with it. But for this year, when we passed the budget, we estimate 900,000. Last year, I think we estimated 1.1 million, and new growth came in a little higher, thankfully. And again, as I said, my recommendation is we always be careful with our local receipts, because if our local receipts don't come in as estimated, we have to come back and cut the budget.
So once again, if we would have applied the $1.4 million into this, what would it be the different people would be paying?
So I created a slide, asked confidential secretary Teresa to hand that 1.7. Yep. So the slide you just received right now is using the entire $1.4 million. Again, what I did originally in the presentation was take what the council has budgeted in June. This slide right here was not part of the presentation, is utilizing the entire $1.4 million plus new growth. And as you can see, the increase will be for a single-family home, $202 or 5.4%, and increases across the board on every class of property.
So the answer will be, Councilor De Rosario, if we use the 900,000, will be $179 for the single family, and industrial will be 1,454 as we have in the presentation. The slides that we have currently, we have the tax increasement for the total amount of $202 for the single family average, with an average value of about 405,000, 800,000. Good.
Thank
Any other councilors? Councilor De La Plan.
So one quick reminder, what is the tax levy was 2.4 million. What did we go to this year?
2.5.
Yeah, levy increase. What was budgeted in June, 87.7 million. We're gonna add another $500,000 to that, which would account for the additional new growth.
What I'm trying to drill at is because we're not taxing to the levy capacity or to the 2.5%, because of that excess, it's going into to add to the $13.6 million. And I was just wondering, we didn't go to the top, so that excess is going to 13.6 to that area.
We are going to the top.
We are full. We're going full 2.5%.
2.5 plus
This year.
100.
This year. Plus the
2.5 plus new growth. Okay.
plus
So-
new growth. It's about 4%, something
So
like
we're
that.
not, so I'm just looking at the chart, and I'm sorry about this, that it looked like we were going, if you look at page 10, the excess capacity in various years, in FY 2024 is 12.8 million, and then in FY 2025, it went up to 13.6. So it looks like it went up, and I thought the only reason why it would go up if we didn't go to the full 2.5%.
Right,
So how does that happen?
because they didn't use the $500,000. Now, we're gonna reduce that 13.6 to 13.1.
Thank you. So what I typically do in this time, through you, Mr. President, is the 13 point, in this case 13.1. While that sounds fantastic, and our chief assessor rightfully suggests that if you're a taxpayer, you're not paying. Over the course of time, you've paid less taxes, and that's accurate. But for every good news, there's the equating, not necessarily bad news. So the bad news is, when you're doing something like this, if we ever go south as an economy, we right now have a restraint of 2.5%. We can't go beyond 2.5%. Forget about the new growth. We can't go past 2.5%. You know where I'm going with this, right?
I'm not sure, but we
Okay.
can go beyond the 2.5%.
And how, because
Because we have excess. tax
that's the
levy.
point I'm driving at. That's exactly the point. And it doesn't have to go before the voters. We can go and do it right here. That's the point.
Correct. When you pass the budget. That's
Exactly right. So that's the point. So usually when you're raising taxes beyond a lot, you got most cities and towns, if they don't have this kind of money set aside, they got to go to the voters and say, we're going to be raising your taxes beyond the tax levy. In this particular case, we don't. So it's something, I know that we're responsible here, and the mayor's responsible, but someday we're not gonna be here, and the mayor's not gonna be here, and there's gonna be a whole different group of people that are gonna be having our levers of government, and they could go ahead and vote for up to 30, if they decide to, they can chip into that without going to the taxpayers. And just so we're just aware of that as we're going through. So it sounds great they were building that up, but on the flip side, it's, you're losing some accountability with the taxpayers in the future, in a bad situation, most likely. That's one. Second thing that I usually hear, Council President, is I thought you guys aren't raising my taxes, you know? And what we are doing tonight, if we vote for the 1.75, is we're voting for the best package we possibly can for the single-family homeowners in our city. And it's at 180, is that the number? 180 is what the chart says, right? So 180 is average.
It's gonna go up.
To 202? So 202 is the average that we're going to be, that the single-family homeowners are going to pay. And here's the key. It could be a little bit more, it could be a little bit less. So when you get that phone call, I'm going to be getting the phone calls, others are going to be getting phone calls. I thought my taxes I thought you were being really friendly. Well, we're being as friendly as we can with these tax rates, and taxes may go up by a little or less, but it's all depending on the things that the assessor does for the value of the home. So I just wanted to make sure that was it. That's it. Thank you.
And it's also important to recognize that this is an average value of 405,800 average value. So there is family house in the city of Lawrence that are on this good amount. Do you? I mean, can you guess that the higher value
Highest single-family home price in the city of Lawrence?
in the city of Lawrence?
$800,000.
800,000 around. So there is houses that are expensive more than what we have in front of us, that they're gonna see an increase based on the value of their property. And they can definitely call the city assessors to determine what is gonna be the exact amount based on the current value. Any other councilors would like to participate on this discussion? All right. At this point, I will call the questions. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The vote passed unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going on top of the agenda. There is any public hearing that would like to? We are going to skip the public hearings, councilors, since we have other matters that we have people present here. And we're going to committee report. We're going to start first with the Budget and Finance Committee. Madam Vice President Infante, the Chair of the Budget and Finance Committee, please present the report for item 51624.
Give me 1 second, Council President. Council President, the Budget and Finance Committee met recently. We discussed item 516-24, authorization to expend in the amount of $12,000 under the SOAR Address Verification Program, AVP grant, and we sent this up with a favorable recommendation, and I make that as a formal motion.
There is a motion on the table to accept item 51624, properly second. It was second by Councilor Rosario or Santiago? De Rosario. All right, any discussions, councilors, on this?
One quick point. I just want to thank the Ms. Shepherd who put this memo together. I appreciate that. I can look at this memo, Council President, and just get exactly what I'm going to be voting for this evening, so I appreciate the work on this. Just to comment and say thank you very much. I wish more, not only more people in the administration, but also more councilors put information on here so we know exactly what we're voting for on these dates. Thank you, Council President. Thank you.
No problem, councilors. Any other questions in regard to this? I hear no at this point. I'll call the questions. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. The next item from the Budget and Finance Committee is item 51824. Madam Vice President Infante.
Item 518-24, authorization to pay prior year invoices in the amount of $1,390.19 for Amazon and WB Mason was sent out with a favorable recommendation, and I make that as a formal motion.
There's a motion on the table. Can I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Reyes. Any discussions on this? I hear none. All those in favor, I'll call the questions. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. Item 54424. Madam Vice President Infante.
Item 544-24, authorization to pay prior year invoices in the amount of $1,231.43 from NRG was sent up with a favorable recommendation, and I make that as a formal motion.
Second.
There is a motion on the table, second by Councilor Santiago. Any discussion on this? I hear none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. Item 54524, Madam Vice President Infante.
Item 545-24, authorization to expend in the amount of $130,000 for the Mass Trails grant from the executive of EOEA for Spicket River Greenway Bridge renovation was sent up as a favorable recommendation, and I make that as a formal motion.
Second.
All right, there is a motion on the table, second by Councilor Reyes. Any questions? I hear none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. Item 54624, Madam Vice President Infante.
Item 546-24, authorization to expend $212,760 from the formula grant from the Executive Office of Elder Affairs was sent up as a favorable recommendation, and I make that as a formal motion.
There is a motion on the table, second by Councilor Levy. Discussion. Do we have Martha here? Madam Vice President, do you mind going over a little bit about this? It's important for people to know as of why we get in these funds. If it's not, I can just give it a quick brief. All right, councilors and members of the public, these funds come into the city of Lawrence, thanks to the seniors that live in the city of Lawrence that fill up the census. The total amount of dollars, the total amount of seniors calculated by the total amount of dollars, which increased from $13, $14 to $15 now, increased $1. And we receive, thanks to that grant, or that formula grant, the total amount of $212,760, $212,760, thanks to the seniors that fill up the census and the great amount of work that the center did back then when we did the census in 2020. Councilors, any questions in regard to this matter? I hear none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. Item 54724, Madam Vice President Infante.
Item 547-24, the authorization to expend $15,000 for the Title III grant from the Executive Office of Elder Affairs and Elder Services of the Merrimack Valley was sent up as a favorable recommendation, and I make that as a formal motion.
There's a motion on the table. Can I hear a second? Properly second by Councilor Reyes. Any discussion? I hear none. At this point, I call the question. So all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. Item 54824, Madam Vice President Infante. It is important to recognize that Councilor de Rosario have recruited himself to do a potential conflict of interest. Madam Vice President Infante.
Item 548-24, authorization to pay prior year invoices. The first one being $15,218 with 88 cents owed to Capital Waste Service, Inc., and the other amount, $150, owed to Rumble News, was sent up as a favorable recommendation, and I make that as a formal motion.
There is a motion on the table. Any discussion? Can I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Reyes. Any discussion? I hear none. At this point, I'll call the question. So all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. Item 54924, Madam Vice President Infante.
Item 549-24, authorization to expend $1,208,942 with 73 cents for the Massachusetts Municipal Public Safety Staffing Grants from the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security. Was sent up as a favorable recommendation, and I make that as a formal motion.
There is a motion on the table, properly second by Councilor Santiago. Any discussions on this? There is no questions, but let's expand the opportunity to Ms. Shepherd to explain a little bit about this important grant, for how long we have it, and what's the meaning of it.
Definitely. My name is Rosa Shepard, the Director of Support Services at the Lawrence Police Department, and we recently applied for the municipal staffing grant at the state level. We applied for the amount of $1,208,942.73, and we were approved. These funds are mainly used for paying overtime for the police officers, or those police officers that are working on special assignments. As well, they pay for the new recruits at the academy, which entitles to the equipment, the radios, uniforms, anything related to the new recruitment is paid by this grant. Right now, we are budgeted for 8 new recruits at the police academy.
Any questions, councilors? I hear none, so at this point, I'll call the question. So all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. And we're going straight to the ordinance committee. The ordinance committee, Councilor LaPlante, the chair of the ordinance committee, please present us the report for item 55224.
This item is to remove the handicap parking at 3335 Ames Street. This was sent up to the full council with a recommendation to order a public hearing, and to make that in the form of a motion.
There's a motion to order a public hearing, second by Councilor De Rosario. Any questions on this? I'll call the questions. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. Item 55624, chair of the ordinance committee, Councilor LaPlante.
At the intersection of Mount Vernon Street, Mount Vernon Circle, and Sparkle Drive, and this was sent to the full council with a recommendation to withdraw, and to make that in the form of a motion.
There is a motion to withdraw, properly second. Any discussion? I hear none. At this point, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. Item 55724, chair of the ordinance committee, Councilor LaPlante.
This is a stop sign at the intersection of Amherst Street at Andover Street, and this was sent up to the full council with a recommendation to withdraw, and to make that as a motion.
Second.
There's a motion on the table, properly second by Councilor Santiago. Any questions? At this point, I'll call the question. So all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Item 56424.
This item is to remove handicap parking at 26 Atkinson Street, and this was sent up to the full council with a recommendation to withdraw, and that's the motion.
The motion is to withdraw, properly second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Item 56624.
This is to install underground conduits under Essex Street near Newberry Street, and this was sent up to the full council to order a public hearing, and that's the motion.
Second.
Councilor LaPlante.
The last item was 564.
564.
Remove handicap parking.
When it says to order a public hearing.
I have a, I'm sorry, is there wrong on there?
To order a public hearing based on the report. So we need to reconsider.
I'd like to amend document 56424.
We need to reconsider.
Making a motion to reconsider 56424.
Second.
There's a motion to reconsider on item 56424. Here's properly second by Councilor De Rosario. Any discussion on reconsideration? I hear none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Item 56424, Mr. Chair from the ordinance.
I'd like to make a motion that we order a public hearing.
Second.
There's a motion on the table to order a public hearing, properly second. Discussion. I hear none, so at this point I call the question. So all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
56624 to install underground conduits under Essex Street and Newberry Street. That's to order a public hearing.
There is a motion to order a public hearing, properly second. Any questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Item 56724.
To install underground conduits under Lowell Street near Hampshire Street. This was sent up to the full council with a recommendation to order a public hearing. That's the motion.
Second.
There's a motion to order a public hearing, properly second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. All right, we're going straight to, there is no personal committees report, as well as housing, there is no housing. And we have the Public Safety Committee, Madam Vice President Infante and the Chair of the Public Safety. Can we hear the report for item 45924?
Thank you. Item 459-24, Business District Safety Initiative, was sent up to the full council as a committee report, and I make that as a formal motion.
Second.
There is a motion on the table, properly second, to accept the committee report. Any discussion? I hear no. Discussion on the committee report.
Yes,
Go
discussion.
ahead, Councilor Vice President Infante.
Thank you. Councilors, this item does not need an actual vote at the moment. The committee felt, with the sponsors of the item, felt that it was important to send this up to the full council so you guys can hear the presentation that we did. There was good information, there was great discussion, and we have the sponsors here who are ready to give that presentation to the full council.
All right, great. Let's hear the presenters. Sure, of course. We have the Chief of the Lawrence Police Department, Melix Bonilla. Welcome, Chief, and allow us to hear you.
I'm here on behalf of the Business District Safety Initiative. With me is Captain Maurice Aguilar and Lieutenant Dan Fleming, who runs in charge of running this program. I'm just here to support and listen to what they're going to present. I've seen it before. They're doing an unbelievable job. What you're going to get today, what you're going to get from this gentleman here today, is the work they've been doing and what they plan to do is a good program. So please listen. If you have any questions, I'm here for that.
Sure. Thank you so much. Let's open the floor to the captain and the lieutenant that are also here representing the Lawrence Police Department. So, by all means.
Thank you, and good evening to all of you. First, and premised upon what I heard, during public participation and some of the input that we've had since we were here previously, I want to acknowledge that the issue that's known genetically as homelessness, and I say genetically because it's got a lot of moving parts to it. It's not just one particular issue. I understand it is a complex issue, and I understand that there are different people on different sides of the aisles, and I respect the fact that they're very passionate about it. With that said, I do want to clarify any misunderstandings, allay any fears that may be brought by our initiative, and also to address some of the misinformation that is out there. First and foremost, I want to say that neither the mayor nor our organization nor anyone in partnership with our initiative and our efforts has any desire whatsoever to treat the most vulnerable members of our community with anything but dignity, respect, and compassion. And to that end, we have been doing it for quite some time, may I add, taken many, many steps and great efforts to reach out to them and to help them as much as we can. And I believe that Lieutenant Fleming has in the past and will today, at your discretion, outline some of the efforts that we have made in that regard. So I just want to make that very clear because, again, there's a lot of misinformation about what's going to happen, what's not going to happen. I'm going to tell you that our intent is to continue providing services, but also there is a recognition that we have a problem. And for those of us, all of us that live here, we see that problem every day. And keeping things as they are or ignoring the problem, I respectfully submit, is not the answer. The problem is growing every day, it's growing every year. The number of displaced individuals, also known as homeless, has grown exponentially within the last couple of years and continues to grow and will continue to grow by all indicators. The crimes that are being committed related to displaced individuals, rapes, stabbings, crimes of violence, crimes of drugs, all continue to increase. They're not decreasing by us keeping our eyes shut. So as much as we will take a compassionate approach and continue our outreach efforts, there must be another side to this coin. And I will speak to the law enforcement side of it, which is premised upon what the business initiative, safety initiative is. But we'll also speak about what we do as far as education and outreach, if you will. I don't want the outreach aspect of it to be left out, okay? But we must address it, and to that end, I will. I just wanted to acknowledge that. I just want to give a little background in response to the growing complaints and from residents, and in particular our business community. Mayor DePena convened a meeting wherein he tasked several members of various departments to address the issue forthwith. The mayor additionally vowed to provide financial, material, personnel support to address this issue. And as such, we began and constructed what's called the Business Safety Initiative. The Business Corridor Safety Initiative, when we're starting with the business corridor, simply because, number one, it's the most visible. Number two, it attracts the majority of the vagrants for obvious reasons, because that's where the money is. That's where they go get money. But the problem has grown, as I stated. We've seen an increase, for example, between August 1st, 23 and July 31st, 2024, we've seen a recorded 8,778 calls for service. These have to do with drug use, loitering, trespass, vandalism, B&Es, violent crimes, robberies. But a lot of it has to do also with things that affect our standard of living. Not only the impact on the business community, which in the last few years, as everybody knows, has expended a great deal of investment here, millions of dollars, but also our community and our children. There is a perception that we are becoming unsafe, and that is a bad perception because not only is it inconsistent with our data, but it's also something that's unnecessary. We have an increase in calls for biohazard concerns, of all things. People urinating in public, defecating in public, discarded hypodermic needles, syringes, and other trash within our business districts and within our residential communities around our schools, where our children go to schools, in our parks. We can't ignore that aspect of it. We're going to take a humanitarian stance, but we have a responsibility to the residents of our community. Right now, the homeless community is estimated to be at around 300 individuals. Of that, raw data indicates that only 30% of those are actual locals from our community. That includes Lawrence, Methuen, the regular, surrounding community. Others are external, so far and wide as from New Hampshire and other places. Our initiative, at this point, we are, what I said, in phase one, and I know I sound like a broken record, but we're in phase one right now, which is, the information gathering. We'd like to know what the demographics of this population is. Where do they come from? Who's bringing them here? Who's facilitating dumping, the problem on our laps for us to use our resources to deal with it? We don't have a problem helping people, but I think that we start by cleaning our own house. I think we start by serving our own community first, and then we could deal with the other issues. We want to also understand and collaborate with members of the community, whether they're business, residential, churches, schools, whomever it is, to get a better understanding of what their need is, so that we can have impact analysis, so that we can understand how we can more effectively deal with this issue. And we want to educate. We want to educate members of our community. We want to educate the business community. Right now, we're actively, in this particular phase, talking to business owners, talking to them about, structural engineering, lighting, fencing, surveillance systems, how to keep their people safe, and how to keep the customers safe, that they could walk in and out of a store and not be harassed or not feel as though they're going to get robbed or something is happening. These are all realities. And this is something that we have the power to mitigate. This is something that we are structuring a response to, and I think that we will mitigate it. But again, ignoring it is not an option for us. We're out right now analyzing what legal strategies we can use. And yes, this includes the no camping laws. Just recently, the Supreme Court passed Grants Pass versus Johnson. Basically, the Supreme Court held that the Eighth Amendment does not prohibit cities from enforcing public camping laws against homeless individuals. As such, local and state governments can clear encampments if they present public health risks. And so the term public health risk is a little bit broad, but I think that we just need to look at other communities. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. Other communities such as Brockton and the like, Lowell, have already started to enact these particular no camping statutes and ordinances. And I don't know what the effect of it is because it's so new. Grants Pass was decided, I think, in June 24th or something to that effect. So it's relatively new. It takes a little time to trickle down. However, we need to be proactive because if we're last on the draw out of this, I'm telling you right now, we're going to pay the price. When Lowell begins their encampments and starts shutting down their encampments, they're going to wind up here. It is well known and established, as many people have said, and one lady in particular had told us, who was from Vermont, I think, far out there, said everyone, we asked the question, the same question to everybody, because we need to know, why here? Why Lawrence? What brought you here? She says, well, everybody knows that if you're homeless, the best place to be is in Lawrence. They get the best resources here. They get the best, clothing and what have you. And again, they can set up shop everywhere. Now, I don't want to steal Lieutenant Fleming's thunder. He's going to talk a little bit about the numbers, how they're increasing. He's going to show you what these encampment sites look like and what they look like today after minimal, and I'm not going to say minimal, but after some effort to rectify that. The city is trying to reclaim some of these lands. And in doing so, you're going to see the differences. And I think that our department has helped. The DPW department has done an amazing job. Our partners in the city have done an amazing job. And you're going to visually see what the difference is from one to the other. I think that our city is growing, our city is progressing, and I think that we're beyond that stage where we just can't keep things status quo. Status quo is just not going to do it for us. We need to address it for ourselves, for the future of the citizens, for our community, for our standard of living. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Lieutenant Fleming, who's going to give you some visuals on that, and a little bit about what we're talking about. Unless you have any questions from me, again, my intent was basically to give you an overview. We will be moving in different phases. The first phase, as I said, is information gathering and data analysis. The second phase is going to be more the enforcement aspect of it, and we intend to keep you fully informed as to what that is going to entail. And basically, that's going to entail just enforcement of vagrancy, enforcement of trespassing, loitering, and more enhanced law enforcement for individuals who just choose to commit crimes within our community, which we will no longer tolerate.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for all that information. Lieutenant Fleming.
Good evening. I'd like to highlight what the captain was saying. So this initiative, we're formalizing different roles. We've been doing this sort of work for a long, long time. We've been doing outreach and connecting with the people, the services, and doing enforcement on a parallel course. Yes.
Before you go on that, I mean, we are talking to the chronically homelessness. So basically, the people that doesn't have homes, that are in the streets. That's why you're going to refer your data to, right?
That's exactly what I refer my data to.
Okay. So essentially, there is different type of homelessness, but we're going to be talking just about that specific.
The problem with, yes, that to
All right.
your question, but the homelessness in our city is a very hard number to capture because people become homeless and then they're housed in the back of being homeless. They're transients coming in and leaving. But I think we do a very good job. We now meet on a monthly basis to kind of highlight who the homeless people are. So we have a spreadsheet of the names, we have a spreadsheet of their pictures, so we're all on the same page. So both patrol and the outreach division has an idea of what we're dealing with. To give you a sense, there's as of this afternoon, we have 312 identified homeless in our city. Compare that to 2023 with 278 homeless in our city. But even more so, I met with the small council, the Public Safety Council 2 weeks ago, and we had 300 homeless, and we now have identified 12 more. So this problem is growing exponentially. A week ago, thank you. And we also acknowledge the homeless population is responsible for a disproportionate amount of crime in our city, but they're also responsible for the victimization of a disproportionate amount of crime. So we're trying to deal with them both ends, understanding they're both committing some crimes, but they're also victims of crimes. They're also dealing with substance use disorder and also mental health disorder. It's a very rare occasion where someone's homeless in our city that's not dealing with one or both of those situations. And to give you a sense of the gravity of that situation, year to date, we have 191 overdoses. Year to date, we had 163 non-fatal and 29 fatal. And that number is up from a week ago. We've had 31 overdoses and 1 fatality from 1 week ago. So we're addressing this again in a compassionate way, but we also have to understand that there is sometimes need for enforcement. We've utilized Section 35. We've sectioned 35 individuals that is taking someone into custody that has a substance use disorder, that's unwilling to get services. We've done that 92 times this year, year to date. We also utilize the Section 12 section of the law. When someone's a danger to themselves or others because of mental health issues, we sectioned 244 people this year, bringing 244 people before the courts, asking for the court's assistance to give them the mental health needs they need. But also, we also hold them accountable. We've arrested 254 homeless individuals from crimes as minimal as shoplifting to as serious as murder. So we're doing both the compassionate work, we're going out there. We've done follow-up and outreach of 835 different people this year in our city. But we're also holding them accountable. And part of that accountability is cleaning up the encampments. I was tasked with taking on the encampment cleanup in February. In 1 short year, we've done a tremendous job of taking back that area in a respectful manner where we're offering them services, we've given them alternative living situations. But at the end of the day, we gave them we were honest with them and said, all right, you can't camp here. There's a certain no-go zones where you can't be. You can't be near a daycare. You can't be near the Boys Club. And we've done this in a respectful, honest way, giving them resources and treating them with dignity. And we've had to arrest 0 people in these encampments. We've relocated them without having used any enforcement. And that's built up to the trust that we've built within not only the homeless community, but our community partners that are helping us with this. There was a distrust many years ago from the police and our community partners because of the way we were treating the homeless. We treated them like criminals in the short term and weren't thinking long term. We're now treating them with dignity. We're now trying to find them resources. The Lawrence police are giving no resources to the homeless or the people that are addicted. But we are facilitating that, and that is appreciated by not only the people that are suffering with substance use disorder or homelessness, but to our community partners that now can realize they can rely on the police department to go in there in a compassionate way, provide safety for the people that are in the encampments and for the outreach workers going to do their business. And we also go in there on a regular basis to not let the encampments come back in. And when we do see an individual there, it's not just a trespass notice. We then hook them up with other community partners so they can get their services. If we can just click through these slides. This is Bay State Road before we started this was the first one we took on in February. And if you can just go right through all the slides. But this is what we were dealing with. And I'm gonna give credit to the DPW and the Mayor's Community Task Force. They're the one providing the cleanup. We provide the safety, but they're hands-on, picking us, going through, a tremendous amount of trash and and needles and biohazard. This is all Bay State Road. And this is Bay State Road afterwards. This is people from the Greater Lawrence Family Health Center that was helping pick up the needles I was strewn about. This is Westbury Park. This is also a huge encampment that had hundreds of tents there and years of filth just piled up. And a lot of that filth wasn't just the homeless. That was just illegal dumping that no one addressed it because it didn't really fall upon the DPW. It didn't really fall upon the police department. It just went unaddressed until we took this on. And when I say we, I mean as a city. You know, the police, you know, we go through and we recognize where these encampments are. We provide safety for the workers to go down there and clean it out. And now it's our job is to do relentless follow-up to make sure these encampments don't get rehoused. This was the boys' club. This was a disaster. Those kids playing just feet away from what we're looking at right now. These are kids, you can see the boys' club right in the background. It was only a few feet away where the kids were actually having recreation time. There were people living there and doing everything that adults do when they live. It was unmanageable. And this is the same area now, all with the overgrowth coming back. As you can imagine, when we started relocating the encampments, we went from Bay State Road, and they moved down towards the Boys Club, and then they moved up towards Water Street. So it really was a situation where we were kind of following them up the riverbank, and it went all the way to Doyle Street. But again, we've done this so often, and with the same strategy, they now know that if we tell them that they can't be here, and they're gonna be removed in a certain amount of time, they relocate themselves, and we have not, in all these, since February, in all these encampments that we moved, we had to do zero enforcement. We've not arrested anyone. We've not trespassed anyone. We provided them services and asked them to move on the way and assist them in that relocation. Now, this is this is on the Central Bridge. This is one of the areas we need to address at some point.
Council President.
Councilor Vice President Infante.
Thank you.
But this is actually a different slide. So, but if you have any questions for me as far as technique.
Can we go back to Central Street? Central Bridge, the next photo. So you just mentioned, Lieutenant, this is an area that we need to address currently. So these photos that we're seeing right now are current photos.
They are current photos.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll be honest with you, it's much worse. Because a lot of the encampments we dismantled, a lot of them going on the Central Bridge right now. And we're kind of caught in between because we have nowhere to relocate them right now, so we're kind of let them, you know, until we can figure out another plan for them, we're not sure what to do with them. We go down there frequently, we offer them services, we give them hand warmers, we try to, you know, encourage them to leave. But the reality is they're there until we come up with another location for them.
Thank you. Just one more, my last comment.
Councilor Vice President.
Thank you, Council President, through you. Something that we heard earlier this evening from public participation, from an individual stating that her and her organization, they have issues finding appropriate, not appropriate, but finding the actual resources that they need to actually help the local residents of this area. And you just said something similar about having the same issue, and I don't want that information to get buried or to be forgotten, because that's really important, so that things, well, now the camera's pointing at me, but things like those photos don't continue to happen in the statement that you just said.
Yeah, I think we've recognized that we just turned a blind eye to the situation for so many years that it really got out of control. But now I think we got our feet underneath us. We've established that, you know, we're not tolerating in certain locations. But the sad reality is we're gonna have homeless population in our city pretty much forever and a day. So we have to find a way to mitigate that. We're very compassionate about the people that are suffering with homelessness and with substance use disorder and mental health issues. And as a department, as a city, I think we could all be proud of the fact that we recognize that, and we're dealing with it in a certainly non-police traditional manner. But we also gotta be very sensitive to the fact that, you know, the people that own property adjacent to West Street, adjacent to, you know, the Boys Club, they too have can rely on the police department for services, and then she'd ask us to kind of help them out as well. So we're trying to play a balanced act, trying to support the people that live next to these encampments and live next to these people that are, you know, unhoused, and also being compassionate with the people that are dealing with these situations. But I think as a police department, I'm certainly proud of what we've done. And I think as a city, we can hold our head high saying that we're doing the best we can in a very difficult situation, trying to balance both enforcement and compassion.
All right, councilors, any questions for Councilor Vice President Infante?
Sorry, I just thought of one more thing. I want to say thank you, Lieutenant, Captain, and Chief Bonilla. I first want to say thank you for putting this presentation together. It's one of the things that the subcommittee, the Public Safety Committee, asked for so that we can all be able to follow along and see what you guys showed us during the Public Safety meeting. I also, and I can only speak for myself as an individual counselor, there are moments where as a counselor I become frustrated because we go to the police department for smaller things, and there's just so much going on in our city that, that are more important. And when it's put together like this, and we are reminded of everything that you guys are working through. So I just want to say thank you for what you guys are doing. Thank you for your compassion, and I'm glad to see the chief here supporting you guys on this initiative.
Thank you, Councilors.
Council President,
Councilor Luzon.
if I may, can I ask, thank you, Captain. Thank you for your presentation. My first question, why is this called a business district safety when we have issues with neighborhoods? I also, bigger issues with neighborhoods, especially, and I'm going to speak on behalf of District B. Also, I don't see, that's my first question. Second, maybe I'm not reading the map correctly, but I don't see Jackson Street in here, because that's, like in my district, that's where the businesses are located. Also, Exit Street, and I know that you are aware, the department is aware of the situation that we have on Exit Street near Northern Essex Community College, that alley right behind Northern Essex Community College. That's one. That's my second question. So calling this a business initiative, it somehow is leaving out the neighborhoods, especially neighborhoods in my district.
I appreciate the question, Councilor Luzon. First and foremost, this, and perhaps I left out several things that I had mentioned initially with the Public Safety Subcommittee. I don't want to be redundant, but the initiative is just the beginning. And basically what we wanted to do is we wanted to start at the very epicenter of where this problem is most visible and most impactful. And if we look, for example, at the intersection of Broadway and Essex Street, where most of, not only our residents, but people that are traveling through the city, this is where the blight is most obvious. People in the corners, people walking around, families can't even go to McDonald's. The pawn shop center has people out there like openly bathing in, with water in the summer. We wanted to take the most impactful route first. If we can address that first impact, have that first impact, then at least we can start to reduce the perception that there's a problem that is overtaken the city, if you will. Our intent, and I think that we mentioned it in the subcommittee meeting, is not to allow because what happens is, and I'll backtrack a little bit, you move the problem sometimes. All you're doing is displacing a problem from here to there, from here to there. We have several layers to attack this. And that includes meeting with certain individuals, organizations, some of which facilitate some of the programs that bring and attract some of these nuisances here. But we started there just as basically getting our feet wet, starting to put the program together, to do impact analysis, to see what works, what doesn't work. And we went there simply because it's the hot spot, if you will, of this particular problem. We will not ignore the residential areas in any way, shape, or form. We are keeping a close eye on residential B&Es to see if they rise in any which way, and how our operations in this particular area affect the outside. So we're keeping close eye on the data and calls for service in that area. If it does become an issue where anybody's migrating to the outside, you can rest assured that enforcement will be swift, and that it will be consistent with the services that we've provided and responses that we've provided that have consistently throughout the last few years brought crime down. So we're not ignoring the residential district, and we promise not to ignore the residential district. This is just where we begin our operations, base camp, if you will, or a prototype, if you will, the program that we want to implement in the long term.
To you, Council President. I think also, and thank you for explaining that, it still doesn't resolve that you have not, the initiative had not started by my district, especially near, also it's in between District A and B. We have an issue there that is it's alarming. And I know I spoke with the chief about this months ago, and he mentioned that something was coming. But leaving even the title, leaving the neighborhood piece out, it's not, I'm not happy with that. My other question is that I walk my district. Actually, Officer Cano, he always available. He was with me in my last walk. I spoke with some of the people, and this is near, it's in the housing near, I think it's right across from Central Catholic, that housing project, Elms. No. Am I? Yeah, that one. Thank you, Chief. And I spoke with people that were there, and there were people without any substance abuse problem. They were there just homeless, living in tents, doing barbecue, right inside the housing property near the walk. So that space that was created for residents to exercise was occupied by people with issues, but also people that were there just living because they don't have any other way to be. People that came here, and you must be aware, they came here por la vuelta, you say that?
Yeah. I understand exactly the area that you're talking about.
Yes.
And
So my point. So your numbers don't reflect that. I don't know if they're not being completely honest with you, but I spoke with some of them, and they were very clear. No, I'm here. I came here from this country, and blah blah. I'm here. I've been here for 2 months, 3 months. I lost my job, and I don't have housing. I sent my daughters and my son to New York, but I'm here because there's no space for me in at the relative's house. So your numbers are not reflecting that issue that we have in the city. People without proper housing, that they're just there and they don't have no substance abuse or mental issues, health issues. They just, and I'm not using the new term, but homeless. They don't have a house and they don't have jobs. They're jobless. They don't have jobs. So I hope you can take a look of the statistics and look into this, because you live in that group of people out. Thank you, Captain.
Thank you. If I may, just to...
Captain, you might respond. No, you might respond to that.
If I may, Councilor Luzon, the efforts that we've spoken about are geared to individuals that wish to accept this outreach. The people that you speak of, and the date that you went with Officer Cano, on that particular day, we were conducting an operation in that very same area, which is called Operation Witch's Brew. And that resulted in the arrest of several individuals with warrants, and that resulted in outreach efforts that were given to that very same demographic of which you speak. So we are not ignoring that. I would disagree with you. We are addressing it. And in fact, we addressed it on the very day with an operation, a 2-day operation, on the day that you went. So we're very cognizant of that. What we do not have is a nuclear bomb to address this issue simultaneously. We have to take it methodically. We have to approach it in a manner that is going to be consistent, sustainable, and hopefully permanent. So I know it's going to be slow, and I would ask you to please be patient. We are going to get there. We're going to get to every single encampment. We're going to get to every single neighborhood. And insofar as the service that's provided by the Lawrence Police Department to every member and every resident and every neighborhood, that will continue to be always dedicated and professional, courteous, and consistent. So,
To you, Council President, I trust your effort, your initiative. I always have an open door. I know that you care, that the police department care, but also my intention of making this comment is to make sure that you don't forget the neighborhoods, and that the people that I mentioned are also included in U.S. statistics. And I know maybe you don't have the amount of officers needed to embark in a bigger initiative throughout the city. But my job here is to represent my constituents. And it's hard, and I don't have nothing against the initiative. But I'm getting complaints. My neighbors, and I'm going to speak on behalf of some of my neighbors and myself, we cannot get a delivery. You cannot leave a delivery out from Amazon for more than 20 or 15 minutes. It disappears. And not everybody that is homeless is a criminal. I understand that, but we have issues in our neighborhoods that are very concerning. And I just hope that the initiative, it doesn't move that in a slow motion. I know that the police department cares, and you're doing the best that you can. But I also know that there's funds available to create a more complex project initiative that includes also the concerns that that some of the people that participate in the public hearing mentioned at the beginning. It also looks like that the city works in different sections. It looks like the police department is doing what they can, and I know DPW is also, but it will be better if we can get something more unified. Thank you, Councilman Compton. And
sure.
As soon as I finish, Chief, thank you.
So I need to
no, I haven't finished.
Wait. Not yet. She haven't finished yet.
No.
She still have the floor.
Thank you. Thank
Councilor
you,
Luzon, you may
Council-
continue.
Council President. I hope you take my suggestions seriously. Well, I know you will, but not my suggestion, my constituents' suggestion. And I'm also going to include District 8, because we share the same problem. It's near Jackson Street, right across from Lawrence Community Works. So you have kids going to the programs, and then you have homeless having parties, basically, near the river. And not all of them are criminals, I'm not saying that. So I just hope that something more unified, like Councilor Infanten mentioned, can be done for the benefit of the entire city. Thank you, Chief. Now you can speak.
Chief, you might respond to some of the concerns that Councilor Luzon have.
I just want to add something that's very important, is that he's also the community policing commander, so he runs capital divisions. At the time, we have 5 officers in the police academy, and we're working on putting 15 more, and 15 more after that, and then 10 after that. It takes time. I wish I could put 30 in the academy. The problem with that is, if you put 30 in the academy, and they go to the academy, and they graduate, we need 30 field training officers, and we don't have enough, so we're going to do 15 at a time. Why do I mention this? Because I was one of the original members of the community policing unit, and what you're mentioning is exactly what it is. It's community policing, getting the officer all day in the area, 8 hours a day. Not only one officer, maybe 2 of them, having them walk the area, meet the people, meet the community. So I could speak in behalf of the administration. They are willing, they're working on those numbers. It's just hard. I mean, right now we're in the process of doing how many background? We have 34 candidates?
34 candidates.
So for 15, we call for 34 candidates. So we're working on 15 candidates to try to put in the academy. The first day of the academy, when we sent those 5 recruits, I was at the first day to see what we had. And I was like, oh, we're in trouble. But 13 weeks down the line, I went there to check on them, and you got to see these 5 kids. They lost the way. They ready to come back and serve the community. So yeah, we understand the concerns and the problems. We are going to try to increase the numbers, especially in community policing, but it takes a little time. Is that good enough?
Yes, that is.
Thank you.
Is that good enough? Yes or no?
Thank you, Chief. Thank you through you, Council President. Thank you, Chief, for your response. Just keep in mind my concern. And you guys are doing this is a great initiative. I just hope that it has a different title.
Well, essentially, Councilor Luzon, the initiative is going to be the initial
Council President,
data collection, and then eventually they're going to learn from it, and then they're going to proceed with the rest of the city. That's what I'm assuming, right?
I'm saying here tonight that once we have the resources we need, the personnel available to do what we need to do, you're going to see a difference.
Thank you, Council President. I understand the initiative completely. I still have my suggestion, and I hope that it's taken in consideration. Thank you, Chief. I appreciate that. Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Captain.
Thank you.
And for the record, the title hasn't been copyrighted yet, so we are subject to change at any given time. Thank you.
Any other councilors?
Council President.
Councilor Levy?
It's just only a comment that I want to make. So I don't know if you having seen in through 114, they are opening a camp right in there. They put a tent. I pass almost every day, and okay.
So we're aware of that encampment, and we go up there and we, try to dissuade them from being there. But at the end of the day, that's Mass Highway property. So we're trying to reach out. I just emailed Awilda Pimentel this afternoon. Not only is it that location on 114, but there's a location adjacent to Lawrence General underneath the bridge there. That's also Mass Highways property. That's a disaster, and we need to get them involved too. We need to get a partnership with them and hold them accountable. Say, hey, this is your property. You need to maintain this as well. We'll be certainly willing to assist you, but we have to lean on them as well. But we're aware that they're starting to make encampments there. we've been going out there, we've been trying to dissuade them from being there. But it's, like I say, it's, right now, I cannot rehouse them anywhere. So I can only encourage them to not be there. But we are aware of it, and we're trying to work with them.
So who is responsible for, you said, the state highway?
Mass highways, precisely, yep.
So will you be able to call and let them know about this?
I facilitate
Because
that.
that was, beside that this area is very dark. It's very dark at night, so when you pass by, there is no light right in there. And then we had like the new camps, a lot of trash this afternoon, I saw that, and 2 or 3 people in there. So,
This is
before it's getting worse, we need to start putting attention on this.
It is a complicated problem that needs a lot of people to kind of put their heads together, work together, and do. I think it was it's going to be more holistic and more rounded. And we need to kind of not only get our partners together, but communicate to one another and define what our roles are and see what we can do with that. But we're very aware that that's starting to pop up again.
Okay, so just only to let you know and also to take care as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Like you said, it's not your responsibility, but you have maybe the tools that you can call and get the person responsible for
It's
that.
our responsibility as a community, and as the police department, we're the tip of the spear. We see it first, so we're the one that has to pull the levers, try to get the problem fixed, and we're certainly willing to do that.
All right, thank you so
All
much.
right, thank you so much, Councilor Santiago.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Things I want to say, thank you for your job. I know it's a hard job and too dangerous as well. And I wanted to collaborate with my colleagues, the District B. We have the same issues. We did a neighborhood meeting, and the chief was in the meeting one of the time, and the constituent was expressed the concern. They have more crime, more. There are more homeless, younger than the last year, and that is the number you show us. If you can, I know it is hard, but I have to tell, if you ask the people we are here in this room right now, you can ask them how many homeless they see in 2023, the difference in 2024, they will answer you 2024 they have more. And another thing that I want to add is about to keep doing the service, the enforcement for them, but remind the neighborhood area, especially in my district we have East Haber Street. Is the park, the name of the park, we made a National Night Out is Spray Park, and when we was trying to clean the park first for the neighborhood, for the National Night Out, we found some needles. After that, we have the same issues, but one of the things I'm motivated to do the next activity on the other park that we have in the District A. We didn't find any needle there. It is a Storo Park, and just we want to motivate our constituents to use our park. Maybe if they see our constituent in the park, they afraid or they live away because they wanna stay alone to do the different things they have to do because they adopt like a house, and we wanna motivate our college to do some more activity in our parks as well. Thank you.
You're welcome. We'll remind all the councils too that the Greater Family Health Center will send out people to clean up needles. So if you're in a situation in a park where there's needles thrown about, we obviously don't expect your constituents to pick it up, but we have an organization that will go out there and clean that park. That can be triggered by emailing me, and I can get that done. So if you come across that, we can certainly help you out with that situation.
So now that you mentioned that, do you mind sending us an email so we can have it on record? in case that we need to email them or perhaps call them directly in case we
I
find
will send you
something.
an email and a cell phone number that they can add, that line dedicated to just this problem, that they can use at any time.
Yep. And also, on the same email, can you please add this presentation so we can add it on as part of these records?
So, add what?
The presentation that you have for tonight, and
That might
so
take a
we
little
can have
time,
it as part of the
I'm sure
record.
someone in the department knows how to add that to the email stream, but yes, I will take care of that.
No problem. Thank you. Any councilors?
Council President,
Yeah, we still have a couple of councilors on the first round. Councilor Luzon, so we're going back to you in a second.
thank you,
So,
Council
but we
President.
have Councilor Marmon.
I just wanted to make sure I provided a comment in regards to this initiative. Due to the fact that I represent District D, I don't want to come across as there's a special interest on my end, because I personally believe, and I'm going to make an educated guess, that the reasons why, based on the presentation that you guys provided, such as Bay State Road, West Street, Boys and Girls Club, I'm assuming you guys are using data in terms of why these locations are the locations that you guys are addressing first. So with the comments that I'm about to make is by no means trying to diminish the unhoused community in other districts as well, but I do believe that District D is primarily vulnerable when it comes to this issue. Because again, like I said, I live in District D, I live on Water Street. I have personally done walkthroughs behind the Boys and Girls Club and on Water Street. And I have personally seen us trying to find that balance in treating this community with dignity and respect, and asking them if they want outside resources. And in some occasions, you are met with a negative response, and you just have to be okay with that. And it's hard to find that balance as a counselor, to find solutions, which is very complex, as much as people have so many different opinions and thinking that this is something that could easily be solved, and it can't, because it requires resources that we don't have. And if we do have it, we have to either be intellectual as to how we allocate these resources. Do we want to allocate it to our law enforcement department by hiring more officers, or do we want to allocate it to organizations where we're housing, the homeless community? So it's pretty complex, and I think that it's important to say that I want to give props to law enforcement by being able to do what you can do with the limited amount of resources that we have. I think that it is on City Council, it is on the administration to find solutions in regards to providing the resources that the city needs, to find housing, to find treatments. It is not solely on law enforcement to do this. I don't even think that it's part of your responsibility. And again, I just wanted to make sure that we're not steering away in that the city's not trying to do their due diligence in addressing with this initiative by not focusing on other neighborhoods. But I do want to make sure that I'm standing up and I'm speaking on behalf of District D, because like I said, I live in this district. I have personally experienced when they've come to my personal property trying to fill up their jugs with water, and they're huge jugs where they're trying to charge their phones with my electrical outlets. But unfortunately, we are met with these individuals, that are breaking into vehicles or are, robbing personal property in front of front porches. And, again, it's difficult because at the end of the day, as counselors, we represent everyone, even the unhoused community. But when we get phone calls from the residents that are affected, somehow it comes to the forefront in terms of what becomes a priority to you, and trying to make sure that their quality of life and their public safety is a main concern for us to find solutions.
Thank you, Councilor
Council
Marmon.
President.
Councilor Reyes? Yep.
To you, President. I want to say thank you, because through the year, I'm be a part through different organizations in our community to clean every 6 months this specific area. But we clean today, and after 3 months, as the issue come back again. I love to see this kind of initiative because we started. We can add it different area through the progress. And I understand what my colleagues mentioned from District B because we receive a lot of phone calls there. But recently we do a great job with DPW cleaning the couple alleyways in District B. So I think they be happy because we cleaning a couple alleyway there, and they are so happy. So I want to say thank you for your effort. Thank you so much.
Council President.
Council President.
Yeah, we going before we go into the second round, I want to ask any other councilors that haven't speak yet. All right, now we're going to the second round. The first councilors that we're going to recognize is Councilor Luzon, that she was the first one asking.
Thank you, Council President. I have a question, Captain Aguilar, if you may. When you, are you arresting any of these people, homeless? Are they getting arrested?
As Lieutenant Fleming had initially stated, we have two approaches. And first and foremost, before, for example, we start to move into these encampments, remove the encampments, we're in there for at least 2 weeks or so, telling them, hey, listen, we're going to be shutting down. These are the services available to you. We have, alternative housing. We have this. We have that. We educate them on some of the resources that are available to them. We've just started to branch out now to include, funded positions such as programs such as Home Base, Raft, things that'll help them get into homes. For those that, even unemployed, have access to be able to get into a home, for those that will take it. But there are, and I started my comments by saying this is a very complex issue, and it's called homelessness, even though that's a generic term, it has many facets to it. There are those that are homeless because they've fallen on hard times. And for those who usually will take up all of the services that are offered. Some of them don't know. We educate them and let them know so that they can get out of that situation. There are those that suffer from substance abuse disorder. To those as well, we're offering beds. We're offering, many services to those. But then, there are those who choose that lifestyle and choose to commit crimes. Being homeless, in and of itself, is not a crime. It's the attendant circumstances within that subculture. It is the drug use. We had a woman just recently, pregnant, homeless. She's being prostituted in encampment sites and out on the streets, smashed her face in, broke her eye, and the boyfriend threw her into the river. So this is what's going on in these encampments. It's not about homeless like the person that in the example, he lost his home, he doesn't have a job. We can work with that. But the violence and the stuff like that, we cannot work with. There are those that choose to break in. There are choose to sell drugs and take advantage of that. And to that end, and the short answer is yes, we've taken a total of 590 individuals into custody for various offenses, to include homicide in one of the encampment sites just before we tore it down. So the answer is yes. The short answer is yes.
But for the ones, Council President, for the ones that don't have that haven't committed a homicide or something, a criminal offense, if you take them to court, do you, can they be sent back to the city that they came from?
Not involuntarily, Councilor Zone. Unfortunately, that is the case. Not involuntarily. That's another aspect, and I'd be more than happy, I'm available to any one of you so we can sit down. I have a wish list, if you will, of the things that I'd like to see happen, and a lot of it are beyond the scope of police departments and what we can do. But some of it is also finding or facilitating a return home. You know, we'd like to know how we can do that. We'd like to partner up with the Essex County Sheriff's Department in that regard. Some of the people being released from the Lawrence District Court, for example, if they can get a ride back to somewhere near their community as they were released here, or if we can facilitate rides out to them. There are other communities that are giving tickets and plane tickets, bus tickets to come to Lawrence. I think we can reciprocate. But I'm going to gather data as to how that's happening, why that's happening, because in my opinion, they're creating a nuisance in our community, and I want to facilitate a passage back home to them. But involuntarily, no, we can't.
To you, Council President, my understanding is, and I'm going to speak what I do as a volunteer of domestic violence survivors and victims. There's not even, we don't have shelters, not for domestic violence families. Now, there's no priority, and there's no shelter. So if we don't have shelters available in our city, perhaps we find a way to send them back to the city that they came from, and hope maybe they have shelters available there, because now there's nothing available. For us to place a domestic violence victim in a safe home, we have to pay for a hotel, and and it costs a lot of money. So I mentioned that because I do know that they are coming from other cities and towns. Not all of them are from there, and according to your statistics, they are not local. And my last question is, how many people are sitting at the table for the meetings, for your meetings? Is the Mayor Health Task Force part of this? How many times have you met? I mean, this is a collaboration?
So it is, and we have several, and Lieutenant Fleming can tell you more about some of the other agencies that are involved. But at this point, we do have and are working in collaboration. But again, this is beginning, and so the very first partnership that we had in attacking and addressing some of the photos that you saw were related to with DPW. We also with community development. In order to facilitate certain grants and facilitate certain personnel and resources to get this started. But again, it's in its infancy. Right now, we are just collecting data. We're mapping out the demographic. We're trying to find out what percentage is actually here. It's our community members, where they're coming from. We want to know who's facilitating, what organizations are facilitating this. And so, because at the end of the day, what we'd like to do is attack it at the root. We don't want to continue to keep shuffling the problem around and around and around and try to, use all of our resources continuously trying to, cut the weeds when we can poison the root. What we want to do is we want to basically dry the well. We want to dry the resources, the programs or whatever that are bringing all these external individuals into our community. So with regards to our meetings, Lieutenant Fleming can outline all of the people that we're working with, but the meetings, aside from the hub meetings, and he'll discuss the hub meetings, which deal with a lot of the underlying factors of homelessness, substance use disorder, mental health, alcohol abuse, whatever. We have yet to establish a scheduled rotating meeting, and that's going to come in place once we have an opportunity to take all the data that we have and conduct what's called an impact analysis. And then at that point, we can say, hey, we need to include the board of XYZ. We need to include XYZ and this personnel. So the short answer is not yet, but if you'd like a list of the personnel of the...
Yes, and before... And I mentioned the meetings because I call the chief, I call anyone that is available to listen to any complaints that we get. But it will be also productive if city councilors have the ability to send the concerns that we get for the constituents. And I also know that agencies like the ones that participated at the beginning, they've been doing, I know Anna for so many years, and I know that there's other agencies out there that will be happy to be part of this initiative, also to express their opinion. It not necessarily is not going to be into an agreement with what you guys are doing, but it will be beneficial to have someone at the table that has a different perspective. And sometimes we get that from agencies that are not working for the administration of the city. And yes, I would like to hear your comment.
All right,
Fleming.
Lieutenant, you might
Lieutenant
respond
Fleming.
in terms of the meetings.
So we do have a regular scheduled meeting every Tuesday. We meet with the HUD meeting, and that's 37 different agencies that regularly attend. Sometimes it goes more than 37, including the Mayor's Health Task Force, including it's facilitated in partnership with Lawrence Bethune Community Coalition. Groundworks Lawrence has been hugely helpful in supporting us in cleaning up the rail trail, but Great Lawrence Family Health Center, the Lawrence General, the courts. So we meet on a regular basis to identify people that have most needs. And I'll be honest with you, it started with the opioid epidemic. We started with people that were just overdosing, and it's now spread out to people who just need services, people that need mental health support, people that need substance use support, people that have homelessness issues, the people that just have general complaints about there's a problem in my neighborhood, who's best served to address that. And I'll be honest with you, many times it's not the police department, but we're certainly willing to facilitate that sort of direction so they can get the services they need. But we meet on a regular basis every Tuesday at 10 a.m. via Zoom. I would welcome any one of the council that wants to sit down on these meetings on a regular basis from time to time, just do check-ins and kind of express your concerns. We meet every morning every Tuesday at 10 a.m. via Zoom.
Thank you.
Right, thank you so
Lieutenant
much,
Fleming.
Councilor Luzon.
And just to end that, so I talked about the hub meeting. We set out, and I sent out to the, before we initiated this, this was first week of October, I sent out an email to the entire city council with regards to some of the direct lines that you can access to give us a call at any given point in time. In any of your districts, or any of you at any given point in time want to talk about this in more detail, we're available to you. If you have any concerns, we have direct lines. You don't have to just call the general line for the police department to see, and additionally, again, we can discuss and we'll take any input that you may have. We'll meet with any one of you, your constituents, any neighborhood association meeting, take your input, and again, we'll develop this, and eventually we will have a steering committee.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
Thank you.
Council President.
Council Luzon, we need to move on. We need to move on a little bit with the conversation. We have two other councilors.
The questions that I have. Thank you.
Yes, you've been asking a lot of questions.
Yes, and that's why I'm here, representing my constituents.
Yes.
Captain
Councilor Luzon,
Aguilar,
you have one more question, please.
Captain Aguilar, add to your list of sites the Immigrant Park. And thank you, Council President.
The immigration, the immigrants.
Immigrant Park near Jackson Street. Please add to your list of
I certainly will.
sites.
I certainly will.
Thank you.
Thank
Councilor
you.
Vice President,
Thank
now
you.
you have the floor.
Thank you. I had to make my little list here so I wouldn't forget. So I'll try to
No,
be
Chief,
quick.
she was first,
One
and
thing,
then in the second round, he's going to be next.
I'm gonna try to be quick. I first want to thank, I do want to thank Councilor Luzon for bringing up the residential areas. That was something, the first comment I made during the public safety meetings. I do recommend for the public and the councilors to watch the subcommittee meetings, because that's where really most of the discussions and most of the questions occur. I have a question for the chief. Earlier, Chief, you mentioned that we have 34 applicants for a 15-spot academy, but also you had mentioned that we have 30 available spots for our law enforcement locally. Can you, I think you covered it, but I just don't 100% remember. Why are we not taking in 30 out of the 34 and just
Yeah, he
the
mentioned
15?
it.
Yeah, I don't. Can you just briefly just?
We asked for a list of 15, and when you ask for 15 names, you get 34, just in case some of them don't make it. As it stands right now, 5 or 6 of the candidates are known residents, so they get disqualified right away until we get to the second round. So, and like I explained before, I would like to have 30 in the academy, but if they do graduate, we don't have 30 training officers to train these people for the new officer for 3 months. So we're gonna do 15 at a time.
Thank you.
And then it's going to be 15 and then 10, you said, right?
No, 15 in March, and once they get into the academy, we do the background for the other 15.
Okay.
Because we got people retiring and
All right.
Thank you.
Councilor
Next,
Vice President.
thank you, through you, Council President. And next, there are 2 fundamental issues when it comes to our homelessness situation, one of which we did mention during the Public Safety Committee meeting, and it's the drug street activity in our community. It's not the drug activity that's happening in the encampments, it's the bigger fish, the bigger fishes. And we know, you guys are officers, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. They are bringing, that's 50% of the reason why people come to our community. And that's something that needs to be, I know you guys are doing the best that you can to address that, but I feel like we're not doing enough when it comes to that. Secondly, the other 50%, and Councilor Luzon mentioned this, and this is something that I've mentioned to the administration multiple times, I was also mentioned publicly during city council meetings, is housing, is the affordable housing. We're accepting too many market rate housing, and we're not looking deeper into affordable housing. And that's because the term affordable housing has a bad reputation of it being the projects, when that's not it. I've used the city of Boston plenty of times on how they implemented affordable housing within their community, and it's like good, nice apartments that are affordable to their constituents. And lastly, another thing my last thing that I want to address is something that Councilor Luzon mentioned about city councilors not being part of these meetings. I had the fortunate opportunity about a year ago to work for Greater Lawrence Family Health Center. I was their legislative affairs manager. I was there for almost 2 years. I sat in these meetings when we talked about the homelessness. I sat in meetings with legislators at the local, state, and federal level. I sat in meetings with our nonprofits. We had weekly Monday meetings, I recall. And the issue that's occurring, we're asking our community partners to be a part of it. And during these meetings, everyone's willing to help. But when it comes down to it, they don't want to use their resources, their financial resources. And that's coming from the legislative part, the elected part, the local government part. And that's a real thing. Our CEO at the time was trying to combat that, and it's still an issue to this day. And I want to make sure that people know what's actually happening or being said during these meetings, aside from the meetings that you guys attend. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Vice President. Now we're going to Councilor LaPlante.
Thank you. So this won't take long at all. Just want to remind through you the police. I do have an issue.
You have an issue, District?
So, yeah, thank you. So we do have something before the ordinance committee. It's the encampment potential ordinance. So our next ordinance committee will be Tuesday at 7 p.m. So hopefully that you can be there. The point I'm bringing up is that not only hopefully you'll be there, the police will be there to provide their opinions as to why we should support their proposal, but also councilors, everyone's invited to be part of that. As was said earlier, this issue is not going away. It's going to stay here for a while, and councilors are invited to do that. We'll have another bite at the apple at the full council level later when that thing gets sent up to the full council, however it gets sent up. Thank you.
All right, Councilor LaPlante, thank you so much for the invitation. Councilor Levy.
Thank you, Council President. It's just only a suggestion, so I don't know if it is possible that you can, on the meeting that you have every Tuesday, maybe you can include the city council and send like the Zoom, send the Zoom that maybe if we would like to be part or enter the meeting, so we were able to do it. So to send the invitation to on your list and send it to us.
Thank you.
Please, thank you.
Any other
Thank you,
councilors? Thank you. Any other councilors have a questions for the police department or any of the organizations that are here? So I hear none. Madam Vice President, what's the desire for this?
Council President, I would like to make a motion to withdraw item 4.
So we have a motion to accept the committee report, and then we either table it at this or we withdraw. No problem. So let's call the motion to accept the committee report, and then we can take a determination.
Second.
I'll call the question at this point. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. Councilor Vice President.
Motion to withdraw item 459-24.
There is a motion to withdraw.
Second.
Second.
Properly second, discussion on the withdrawal. I hear none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you so much, councilors. Now we're moving forward for the committee of the whole. We have one item that that it's gonna take more attention to than the other three. If you have no objection, we're gonna take item from the committee of the whole 23624. Madam Vice President, Chair for the committee of the whole.
Item 236-24, home rule petition establishing credible service for police and fire was sent up with a favorable recommendation under certain conditions with an amendment, and I make that as amended, and I make that as a formal motion.
Second.
There is a motion on the table to, with a favorable recommendation with the amendments, and that's being second. Madam Vice President, do you mind going through the amendments?
Everyone should have a document that looks like this on the table. It has number 236 in black. Well, the amendments were, my understanding, just from talking to the fire and stuff, was that you were going to make a few edits to it. One was to delete the words "at no cost" in subsection 2. One was to delete all of section
City
3.
Clerk, Madam Clerk, can you please review the amendments?
I think that maybe, like, Captain Armando might be the best person to outline the amendments, but as I understood them coming out of committee, one of the amendments was in subparagraph 2, which is the 2 inside the parentheses that begins with the words "members appointed a reserve, call, or intermittent police officer." On the third line down, there's the words "at no cost," and that those 3 words "at no cost" were supposed to be deleted. Similarly, the next paragraph right below that has the number 3 in parentheses that begins with the words "members who were entitled to be hired." That entire section was going to be deleted. I know there's at least 1 or 2 other edits, and I apologize, I don't have all of them.
Council President, through you, I'm going to
Councilor Vice
look.
President Infante.
Thank you. I'm going to look through the sponsor of the amendments. Did we cover everything? Are we missing something?
Flying blind, because you got a copy of my stuff.
Oh, sorry. I don't know where mine is.
I'm sorry, I did leave one here.
We should have a clean.
I didn't get the changes back. I apologize. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Council. I didn't get the changes from the committee, like any written changes. So I just had a conversation with Captain Armando, who gave them to me over the phone. So it might be better to invite him up.
There was some language being asked for that to the city attorney. There was either Maria or Pat.
Through you, Council President, I'm going to invite Mike Armano to the podium. I do remember section 3 being, I do recall Councilor LaPlante stating that he was okay with subsection 1 of, and he was not okay with section 3. We did vote on completely eliminating section 3. I'm just fogged with section 2.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Just to refresh your recollection, I believe Councilor LaPlante had motioned to accept items subsection 1 and 2 with the condition that the city attorney review language that would be appropriate to give some sort of contribution from the members, and also eliminate subsection 3, which did not have a cap on a specific amount of persons. Okay, and of course, it might be best to ask Attorney Hooton, but he had reviewed section 2 not subsection 2, but section 2, which had language for cost. And I think he, I don't want to speak for him, but he may have.
Through
Yeah,
you, Council
Attorney
President,
Hilton.
can we call Attorney Hilton to the podium?
So he's ready to speak.
Good evening, councilors.
Thank you, Attorney Hilton, for waiting.
I was asked
for so
a
long.
very simple question. The simple question was, does Section 2, which is not subsection 2, it is the full Section 2, provide the language that was contained in the acts, the subsequent acts, and it does. It provides the way. Now, how you figure that out, I didn't do the mathematics. I'm just saying the language comports to the acts of 235, which is the act further regulating the rights of certain firefighters and police officers. Now, how the mathematics works out with that, that's up to you, but I just want to say that it does provide that there's a payment system, so to pay in. Now, how that works out, that's beyond my scope.
And, Madam Vice President, did you guys went over it and this at the committee of the whole? I wasn't present on the math part of it, or no?
For the cost, no. So what I recall, we did with the CAFO.
Yeah, let's talk to
And
the CAFO.
the CAFO did, he did suggest against it. However, it's actually included, now that I'm refreshing my memory, sorry, there's some committees to be on top of. So we do have the numbers here, and the exact number of individuals that this would pertain to and how much that costs. And we got that from the retirement board, but I'm not seeing it in my packet.
The last 2 pages of the packet. Go over the, actuary.
So it was, yeah, it was the email. So we did go over that. And that's when we got into the discussion where we were okay with subsection 1, made the slight changes to subsection 2, and then approved the complete elimination to subsection 3, which was after the discussion, which was the most open-ended area. And this is what I remember from that discussion that night. The city clerk is
So,
sounds
we
about
have
right.
we have the CAFO here. Let's extend the opportunity for him to speak on this $467,855 and the rest of the numbers. Mr. CAFO. So in overall, just talk to us about that, what we have in front of us when it comes to the numbers, when it comes to any particulars that you have analyzed about the item.
Yeah, I think this is going to be quite costly. It's not the, I don't have the legislation proposed, I just have the letter from the retirement board outlining what was proposed. And in the, and in their letter, they indicate that they had an estimate from their actuary that it's like $12,000 for some of the people who are listed, and that was the cost. It's far more costly than that. I just took, using the PARAC website or the state's website, I calculated a difference of someone with 30 years and 34 years, and the difference is about $5,000 per year. And assuming someone gets that for 25 years, it's over $100,000. So that's just for one person. So it's a lot more costly than what we think it is.
Just give this.
And the main thing is we can't really determine the cost for some of this because we're adding years of service for time not worked. So in other words, there's no contribution. That was the other issue that I had.
We got this last page on the report. I'm sorry, I took a sheet.
Yeah, so this schedule was just says in the top assumption, service increased for 39 Group 4 members. Increased 5 years for, I don't know what the amount was, and it says the appropriation to the city will increase annually by 3.5% until fully funded in 2036. But we still pay the pensions long after that. This is just the city's appropriation that I think they were citing. Oh, to go up, your pension assessment will go from 20 million, which is roughly, pension assessment is around 20 million. It'll increase 35,000. Sounds like a very small amount, but it's far more than that. I just did the calculation for one person, getting additional 4 or 5 years, 4 years worth of service. And it was about $5,000 increase per year. Using the PERAC website.
So per year, per person?
Per year.
About-
Per person.
Council President.
And about how many people we have in total? Madam Vice
Well, I
President?
mean, item one, and again, I don't have the legislation, but the proposal in the letter, item one was at least limited to only 2 people, I think. 2 members. We're going to get item one, which is service with the MBTA. So I think I discussed this committee of the whole. The MBTA is not vouching for the service for these members, probably because the MBTA is not a member of the state retirement system. So they won't vouch for the service. If a firefighter works in another community and transfers to Lawrence, that community will pick up those years of service, so the Lawrence taxpayers don't. But in this particular case, MBTA isn't going to pay for the pensions of these 2 people, and this taxpayer is going to pick it up. I don't know how that's fair. I don't understand how that's fair at all to a Lawrence resident picking up the tab for the MBTA. So that's the problem I have with item number one. And item number 2 is the no cost is now pulled out, but there is legislation already available. The city council can adopt for members who were laid off. But, some of these provisions in here are open-ended. Item number 2 is limited to, I think, 9 people, or specifically stated 9 people. But again, these things are already available to the existing legislation without home rule
Council
legislation.
President.
And Councilor President, just allow,
Point
let's allow
of
him to.
information, since
Go-
we
point of
discussed it
information, go ahead.
during the committee meeting. And I just want to make sure that we're clear about what, now that we're, my memory is being refreshed. The legislation that the CAF was mentioning that the city council could adopt, that was discussed, and we did provide direction on that. Secondly, we also discussed the option for these individuals named here to pay into the credible service. And secondly, thirdly, the most open-ended part was subsection 3, which we voted to eliminate. I just lost my last point.
But
I just
item
lost
2,
my
how do they
last
pay
point,
in?
but-
I mean,
Right.
that's like, what do they pay?
So
Item 2,
section-
how do you
you-
calculate? Section 2.
Section 3 is out.
Section
and
3 is
say-
out, but
and
section
section
2
2, you were in section 2.
Yeah, so section 2 is how do if this is time that we're giving them time for time not worked. So what amount do they pay in towards that service? That would be, how do you, it's usually a percentage of your salary. Well, if you didn't get a salary and we're giving you 4 years of service or whatever I think it's a period of time not to exceed 5 years. So it's 0 to 5 years credit they want to receive. What do they pay in? I mean,
Mano has a response to that.
yeah, okay.
Council President, can we hear from him?
Yeah, let's see what's the amount that they're gonna pay in. That's the uncertainty.
Just to answer that question, I think it was the CAFO's recommendation that we use language that was already established by the Commonwealth, and that language specifically being the same as the Layoff Act of 1994.
That is correct.
So that language was put into this home rule petition at the CAFO's request. The amount they would pay in would be the amount that they would contribute, which is something that could be calculated. The people who were on the reserve list, I believe, have 1-point-something years. There's 6 of them total. This list does not include the members who were laid off. It's just the reserve list, which, again, 1-point-something years. So during that time, it could be calculated what they would have contributed had they been contributing. So it should be a pretty easy calculation, and
Do you have that number?
I do not have that number.
I think that would be important.
Council President, I just.
Councilor is present?
Thank you. I also want to make clear, the CAFO from the beginning has been opposed of this. Even with us making necessary changes, making it more feasible, the fact that, I mean, the pay into, as Mr. Armano just said, was what we included at the end was a recommendation from the CAFO, and that wasn't even mentioned by the CAFO. So we're missing information, financial information from that meeting. Why, I don't know, but I just want to reiterate that what we're seeing, the amendments that we're seeing here, all came from all the feedback from the CAFO, from the sponsors.
I just want to be clear about what my recommendation was, not to do a home rule petition, but just adopt the existing legislation that's already available, and not to adopt this, because this is just padding somebody's pension, to put it quite bluntly. I don't see why the taxpayers should have to fund this. This is not fair. There is, for people who got laid off, there is a provision to buy back. There was for people who are called firefighters, there's a provision to buy that time back already in the existing law. We don't need a home rule petition for it. This is to go above and beyond the existing law to give additional benefits to just a certain few people, which I don't see how that's fair to the taxpayers of the city of Lawrence. So that's my advice as CAFO. It's a lot more expensive than we think it is. Again, adding 4 years of service to someone's salary using the state's website at 30 years, and then what would the pension be at 34 years, given an average salary? It was approximately $5,000 more for those 4 years that they never really worked.
I think that
It's a pretty substantial benefit.
I still have the floor, Council President.
Yes, 1 minute, Vice President. I think it will be fair to get a number, so per person, because we have a specific people, and then we can calculate specific numbers.
Yeah, for the item 1 and 2, that there's, for the MBTA, again, I don't know how you calculate the MBTA. We're giving them 2 years of service for time worked at the MBTA. I don't know if we can get the salary that they earned at the MBTA and say, well, that's what they should have contributed all those years with compound interest. I'm not sure if this special legislation is requiring that. It just says they will be given eligible, purchase eligible service for the period working for the government unit for the MBTA. So I'm not sure how this special legislation is going to handle that. That's my concern. I mean, and I just don't think, why should taxpayers pay for the MBTA service? That's
Section 1.
But that's, the council can, it's special legislation, we want to grant that can happen, but I just don't think it's fair. And I think it's a little more costly than we think.
Councilor Vice President?
Thank you. Question for the CAFO in terms of employment, just generic citywide employment. Does every city employee get offered a pension as a benefit?
Yeah, if they work more than 20 hours a week.
Okay.
They're eligible for a city pension.
So we are okay with giving salaries to unqualified people and having the taxpayers pay their pensions and their salaries, but we're not okay with helping these individuals that have served their time, or emergency personnel individuals that are qualified and have served their time.
They didn't serve their time, that's the point.
Well, it's the same thing though, Cap. It's the same thing.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a negligent thing, Councilor Vice
They're
President.
working, I mean, it's yes or no. So they're working for the city, getting 6 figures, don't know their job, but they're still getting the 6 figures, and the taxpayers are still paying into their pension.
Well, it depends, they have to work, for city employees have to work a minimum of 10 years and have certain years of service to collect the pension. So they pay into the pension system once they get hired. Whether they collect the pension depends on how long they work.
So now,
And Councilor Rushing, I mean, I think that you put into apples to orange comparison, because I mean, that's a negligent on the administration portion, that they hiring individuals that are not qualified.
we are talking about unfairness to the taxpayers of the city of Lawrence. That's what I'm referring to, the unfairness. That's also unfair to the taxpayers of
It
the
is.
city of Lawrence. So if we're gonna talk about unfairness, there's a lot when it comes to taxpayers paying into pensions and salaries, et cetera. But Council President, to conclude, I do agree with you, in terms of the numbers for subsection 1.
And 2 as well, because I mean, there's like
No, we
9
have-
individuals.
We have that.
7 and 2. 9 total. We don't have any numbers.
The last thing you took off was 39 people?
Oh, how many? I don't know how many people we have in total. I mean, there's only section 1 and 2, which is 7 and 2.
Yeah, this is 2 people and this is 7 people.
Mm-hmm. And then there is not an open-ended that anybody else can join, right?
Correct. During the committee of the whole meeting, again, the amendments that Councilor LaPlante proposed eliminate any open-ended concerns. And Mr. Armano and Mr. Cano, which is included in our packets, went through one by one every concern that we had during the first, at the first meeting that we discussed this item.
Council President,
Of course, let's open the floor for you, to you. And
Thank you so much.
As you've been part of the proponent and one of the beneficiaries as well.
Thank you, sir. I believe you do have some numbers, just to answer the question of the clerk. The 39 members included just, again, the 6 reserves and as well as the layoff list. So at one point, we did have the layoff members part of this home rule, and it was pulled out because it could be adopted. So that's why you have a list of 39. And just a point of, on point of information we discussed, there was an element of fairness with the 6 individuals were standing alone in a group that got their time cut after a court decision, but there are a couple dozen individuals who are also on a reserve list who do get this benefit at no cost. So this would give the 6 members time, but they would be paying into it, they would contribute to their own time, whereas the 2 dozen or so members who had reserve time before do it to an old law where police and firefighters could get up to 5 years of time. They all still get that for free as a benefit of being a firefighter or a police officer. So there was some concessions made. I just want to make that point with these police and fire that would be contributing to something that the others do not have to contribute to, in lieu of them getting at least time like the others do.
So it's more than 9.
I believe there's 7 on the list, and they all happen to be firefighters. There's no police reservist, and I believe one of the 7 was already working for the city. So although his name is on there, he would not need to get time because he was already contributing as a dispatcher, I believe. But there's should be 6 firefighters that qualify under the reserve list.
I think that, councilors, the discussion has been, we have made a lot of progress when it comes to the discussion. And we get into a point that we can be able to make a decision. There is some concerns about the numbers. I think that we should get those numbers to make sure that we clear with what is in front of us and the total amount of individuals that are going to take any type of benefits, or either section 1 or 2 or any other section that it might be also adopted by the council. So, councilors, at this time, Councilor Expression, what's the desire?
The motion is it was sent up to approve to approve the amended petition, and that was the formal motion. That was what was sent up by the committee.
Council President,
Councilor Lozon.
he didn't mention number 3. And he was, can,
No, that's eliminated.
that's not going to be used?
It's eliminated.
It's eliminated, okay? All right.
So, councilors, I think that we should be, I feel more comfortable waiting for a number before I make a determination when it comes to my end.
Like, when you say the numbers, what do you mean by the numbers? Just because I'm the person that's gonna have to hunt down the numbers? I just wanna make sure I get you the right thing.
Those are the numbers specifically for section 1 and 2, also how much that will cost.
So the upfront.
They retire and if it is any type of contribution after the retirement.
Thank you.
So I personally don't know. I mean, anybody knows those numbers?
Motion to table.
Is that a motion?
We have a motion right now, and it's to approve. That's
And
it.
I'm asking Council Luzon if that's a motion, because it will be in
Council
order.
President, based on the lack of information on numbers, I think we should table this matter. As a motion.
All right, there is a motion to table.
So
Can I hear a
we're-
second?
So we're just going to ignore the motion,
It is
the underlining motion?
When we have a motion to table, Councilor Vice President, that take priority and that is in order, and then discussion will stop, and no discussion on the table matters. So once we table, and then we eventually get enough information to be able to continue the discussion, and that would be the underlying motion, which is to approve. So there is a motion on the table there is a motion to table at this point. Can I hear a second?
Second.
Properly second, no discussion on the table matters at this point. I call the
Roll call.
questions. All those in favor, please say aye.
Roll call.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays?
Nays.
Roll call, please.
Can you repeat the, I'm confused.
The motion to table you
Oh,
made.
yes.
Roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Councilor Reyes,
No.
Councilor Mamo,
Yes.
Councilor Santiago,
Yes.
Councilor Del Rosario,
No.
Councilor Luzon,
Yes.
Councilor LaPlante,
No.
Councilor Levy? Yes. Council Vice President,
No.
Council President.
I vote yes. What's the count? So the motion is being tabled. So let's go to the other items of the Committee of the Whole. We have item 31321, Madam Vice President Infante. Committee of the Whole.
Item 213-21, eliminate MCAS assessments and use that money to teach life skills from K to 12 vocational creative hands-on activities, was sent up with
Withdraw.
the motion to withdraw, and I make that as a form.
There's a motion to withdraw, properly second discussion. Here none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. Item 6322, Madam Vice President.
Item 63-22, Kennedy School of Government preliminary Lawrence vision for economic property was sent up to withdraw, and I make that as a form of motion.
This motion to withdraw, properly second. Any discussion? I hear none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Now, councilors, we go on top of the agenda, which is the public hearings. We have somebody on the online that would like to speak, and that's on regard to one specific public hearing, which is item 49724. Madam Vice President, do you mind reading the notice for public hearing on item 49724?
Council President, document number 49724 is, public hearing notice is hereby given that Lawrence City Council will host a public hearing on Tuesday, December 3rd, 2024, 7 o'clock PM in the council chambers, 200 Common Street, Lawrence, Mass, pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, and in accordance with the recently revised City Council Rule 2. This meeting will be hybrid, allowing for participation both in person and remotely to accommodate any participant with health considerations that prevent them from participating in person. Access codes for remote participation are available from the city clerk, eileen.bernal@cityoflawrence.com, or 978-620-3230. This meeting is also available on Facebook and YouTube. The purpose of the hearing is to gather testimony, information, and public input concerning the proposed amendment to the revised ordinances of the City of Lawrence to be further amended in the following section of the Administrative Code, Section 4, subsection 12.1, definitions, by adding 2 subparagraphs to Section 12.24.120 of the Municipal Code, public parks, playgrounds, and similarly city-owned properties, so that the revised ordinances will read 12.24.120, public parks, playgrounds, and similarly owned city properties. The naming of any public property, whether real or personal, within the City of Lawrence or owned by the city outside of the city limits, shall be approved in the following manner. First, the mayor or council must submit a resolution to the city council, and the city council must approve it by a majority vote. Public properties in this section shall include, but not be limited to, parks, buildings, flagpoles, benches, playgrounds, bridges, plazas, courtyards, and airports. Sub A, all parks that have not been named after individuals shall be placed on a list by the city clerk. No more than 1 park per term of the city council, or 2 years, shall be presented before the city council for naming. Sub B, no current park may have its current name or honorary removed or altered by the city council. To the extent that there exist any ordinances to the contrary, they are hereby repealed in that respect only. Persons wishing to be heard shall be afforded the opportunity.
All right, we have a public hearing open. Anybody from the public here present first that would like to speak on this matter, on the public hearing? Public hearing? Okay. Attorney Houghton.
Tim Houghton, as city attorney. I was responsible for placing this language. It is obviously not my presentation. I don't advocate against it. I don't advocate for it. But after review of it, I would propose an amendment in the fact that I think one of the words I used is confusing. If you look at subparagraph A, it reads, currently, all parks that have not been named after individuals shall be placed on a list held by the city clerk. Line 2 is, no more than 1 park per term of the city council, 2 year, shall be presented before the council for naming. I think that word presented is incorrect. I think the correct word should be adopted. Because by presenting, if Councilor Levy decided to present it and you didn't adopt, you said, no, we don't like that name, well, then that would prevent anybody from ever bringing it up for 2 years again, even though it was not accepted. So, and it would have to be adopted. The word should be adopted. That way, if you take a vote and you adopt one name, then you can say, okay, no one else can present one. But I just would make that as a, or if you want to make that as an amendment, to replace the word, whether you vote in favor or not, presented with adopted.
That's a good amendment.
I just think it clears up the whole matter.
It makes completely sense. So, no, wait, we're on the public hearing. We haven't closed the public hearing yet. Thank you, Attorney Houghton. Anybody else from the public that wishes to speak on this matter? All right, we have somebody online on the Zoom meeting that would like to speak on this matter. This person text on the Zoom chat asking us to allow public participation, and this is Luis Robles. Luis Robles, do you mind stating your name and address for the record before you say your statements?
Yeah, Luis Robles, 183 Abbott Street. My statement is the following. I support this. I'm actually surprised that we never had any criteria for naming of parks. I hope that the councilors can adopt it and make it a little more rigorous. These things are long-term commitment, and Lawrence will be here, hopefully, for generations to come. And we have limited land. So I think we need to leave room for the future generations. There's great people in Lawrence that are going to be born that haven't been born yet. And I think we need to leave room for them as well. Also, I don't think the language said anything about whether the person is alive or has passed away. Culturally, as Dominicans, we tend to want to celebrate people when they're alive. And that's just a cultural thing. It's not a right or wrong thing. I do think it could be a little dangerous with something that is very permanent like this, because we don't know if that person who is still alive might commit a mistake and then it causes an embarrassment to the city down the road. We can't predict human behavior. And it's just easier to make a full objective evaluation of someone's legacy after they have passed away. But like I said, it's not a right or wrong thing. It's more of a cultural thing. Well, there's also, the danger of also elevating someone's ego. And also there is the danger that when we make things abundant, it loses its value. When there's a lot of something, the value goes down. And this is just goes to just naming things in general. That is my statement. Thank you for the opportunity.
No problem. Thank you so much. Anybody else that wishes to speak on this matter? At this time, we are closing the public hearing on this matter. Councilor, who has the motion?
Motion to approve?
There is a motion to approve. I hear the city attorney requesting an amendment.
Approve for discussion, something?
A motion to approve, and we are going to open it for discussion, yes.
I will,
There is a motion to approve as presented, or motion to approve as with the amendment?
With the amendment.
With the amendment by the city attorney, which is
Second.
clarifying the language properly. Second discussion, Councilor Reyes.
yes, I want to, in this doing, because I read it, but I don't see any criteria. What is the determination about?
The criteria, let's read the criteria. Madam Clerk, do you mind reading the criteria very quick so we can be clear with that, with everything that we're approving? Yeah, on the resolution.
The criteria is basically that no more than one park per term of the city council, which is every 2 years, will be adopted before the council. The council will only name one park every 2 years. That's really the criteria that was set up.
It's basically timing and amount.
Okay.
But it's not like ages
I'm sorry
or.
for my
yeah.
confusion.
That's
Because I thinking when we're talking about criteria, you can identify some point or values with the people we try to recognize or adopting for any kind of people. Other than that, I think.
I guess that, and
I don't know. You can answer this question. I'm confused about
so
the criteria.
the
because
question will be
the
more like
criteria
around
is-
the criteria. It is just limiting the amount, or there is any criteria?
This is only limiting the amount, the number of parks that can be named. Your criteria for who deserves to be on that park is left up to you. This is only saying, much as the gentleman that was on the Zoom was saying is, let's not all name everything tomorrow. There might be a great person from Lawrence a year from now. So it kind of limits it so that all the names. Again, we'd first have to identify where all the parks are, how many parks are
I
left.
think
that
one
are-
park is so low.
Sorry?
I think one park every 2 years is too low.
I don't know
Because
how many parks are left.
we can share park because we can make a new history or something like that. We can have more conversation about this item because.
Motion to pass 10.
Second.
Motion to pass 10, properly second. All those in favor, please say aye. The ayes have it.
And it should be noted that this is only for parks. If you wanted to name a fountain, if you wanted to name a street, if you wanted to name a flagpole or anything,
want to-
this does not apply to that. This
We
only
can
applies
put
to-
a fountain inside the park and not rename or no, you know?
If you spell my name correctly, I would be honored. No.
Okay, no, I'm asking, it's my question.
Yes.
I'm not making any negative comment when my colleague do question.
No, no,
I have the right to do my question.
Yeah, no, you can name
I
a
think
park.
the number is so low, every 2 year, choose one park, why? We don't have no park, but we can figure out mobile language, I don't know. Oh.
No. I mean, seriously speaking, your questions are legit, and it is a concern from Councilor Reyes. She understands that having one park, name it, in a period of 2 years, that will limit ourselves to do our duty of councilors, because it's just referring to the city council.
Maybe we don't have any adopting in any year or 2 year or 3 year, but we need to have mobile language for that, just in case we have more than one. Because maybe my colleagues want to adopt one park for any specific persons next year or for the next 2 years. I want to rename one too. At least we need to have, just in case, at least 2 or 3, because we had 3 councilors at large.
As far as I remember, the last 10 years that we have a couple of parks being named, and maybe like 2 or 3. In 10 years. But that doesn't mean that we can't do that. I mean, we just put in a language to limit the council to do that. And the mayor. Well, but you say 2 years, council section. So it's literally related to the council section. So not necessarily the mayor. But on the language, it doesn't say that. It says 2-year council sections.
But it's the council that has to name it. I mean, the mayor may make a recommendation, but it's the council that names the parks. You can only take a vote.
So it's a little confusing when it comes to that, but I mean,
Council President.
we have the choice to either adapt it or not adapt
Again,
it.
I make no position.
Yeah,
one way or
it's
the
not a
other.
position of the city attorney. Councilor Levy.
Thank you, Council President. This also include, beside the park, include any corner that we
No,
want
the
to-
limitations are just for the park.
Just for
Anything
the
else
park.
is fine. It's just the parks.
This is, President, through you.
Councilor is present.
Just to reiterate, parks, buildings, flagpoles, benches, playgrounds, bridges, plazas, courtyards, and airports, but not limited to it. It says, but it is not limited to.
But the limitations are just for parks.
Section A, okay, yeah.
We are adding this would add A and B. The section above is already in existence.
Councilor LaPlante, I mean, you are the proponent of this. What was your thought behind this? Yeah, I know, right? You're killing me tonight. I mean, the proponents, let's hear the proponent. We're having a discussion.
So there's a lot of misconceptions. So let me start off with the first one, which is, this is not allowing like 9 counselors to provide, and the mayor every year to provide a park naming. First of all, we have a very small number of parks. I don't know how many are left that are named. That's part of this ordinance, which is to find out what's left. I'm sure there's a handful. It's probably less than 10, easily less than 10. But there aren't many. There aren't many at all. And the idea being is that we talk about in the moment, but we should also think about the future. And I know, despite what many of you think, I'm not going to be here forever. And so there needs to be, it's true. The people that are going to succeed us should also have an opportunity to select somebody based on whatever criteria that those people have for someone they think is worthy of a park. In the park, I don't want to say there's levels, but in some respects there is, because we have a lot of squares and corners, but we have so few parks. And so this restriction is dealing with the place where we have such a small number left. as the person who spoke out on the public participation said, there may be someone born tomorrow that's going to be a fantastic person in the city of Lawrence. And if every park is named, we have, the chance. We're not going to be able to name that park after that individual. And so I want to have succeeding councilors, succeeding mayors, people beyond us to also potentially have it. Now, if for the next 6 years we do 3, we may just book them up anyway, and we may be all out if we be really aggressive on this. But if we really sharpen our pencils and really determine, wow, this person, whoever it is, really deserves a park named after them, because we can go to a corner, we have lots of them, but a park named after them, we have to think long and hard about it. But I want to make sure that we, all of us, as the city attorney made that amendment, I thought was pretty important, is that let's have a debate about should this person have a park named after them or not. And maybe we have 2 or 3 different people who we all think are really rise up to that level. Let's have that discussion, and let's get to a place where we can have a debate and then get to an agreement as to who that person is. So that's the idea. Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
Thanks.
B. As a you should propose.
Oh, go ahead. What's the question?
It's a proponent. You're the proponent, so tell me what your thought on behind section B.
Sure. So
second sheet of the document, there's section A and section B.
The section B is, we work long and hard to try to figure out when we take a vote on somebody who we want, or whatever our vote is. In this very chamber, 50 years ago, 75 years ago, you name it, people sitting here made the same kinds of decisions. I don't think we should be going ahead and changing something that was done that many years, nor do I want a vote that we took today or tomorrow be changed 50 years from now. And so this section says no current park may have its current name or honor be removed or altered by the city council. It has a certain permanency because we collectively, and our predecessors worked collectively to naming of individuals for certain things. And I don't want the people in the future to go ahead and change something that we've worked hard on, whether it's Julio Silverio and someone says, you know something, I don't really like her, right? Let's make it the Silverio somebody else park. I don't think that's right. We made the decision with Silverio, that should stay Silverio. That's the way it should be. That's my thinking on that.
And also, Councilor Plan, what is your definition for parks? Because it could be baseball parks. I don't know. Maybe we're thinking about parks like a place like at the Common Park. But what about all the parks?
Or the Campignon Common, which is exactly what
it's
we're trying to
Campignon
fix,
Common, or the Las Ardillas Park, you know what I mean? Parque de las Ardillas, or what is it? What is your definition of parks when it comes to this ordinance? No, it said parks. But parks meaning baseball park, soccer park, everything that's called park. All parks. Okay, all parks. Parks. Okay, that's good to clarify because when I think about parks, I never think about baseball parks. I think about the Campagnon parks and stuff like that, the recreational parks perhaps. All right. Any other questions when it comes to this?
Council President.
Councilor Luzon.
So, I'm not going to use Julio Silverio as an example, but let's say that we name the park after Pedro Diaz, and Pedro Diaz commits a felony.
And then we won't have the chance to opportunity to change that. Right?
So, don't we need to amend something in this ordinance as renaming, and why can we rename?
If you want to do that, you need to eliminate section B.
What do you think? Thank you, Council President. You might answer, giving me an answer.
Sure. I mean, what the council president is suggesting, his opinion is, is valid, which is, yeah, we certainly can eliminate option B. But I don't want to I don't think we should make it easy down the road to do that. In your hypothetical, if someone commits murder, well, that's kind of an easy one to do, right? So I would suspect that if I was on the council 40 years from now and somebody did what you just said, council from District B, that somebody at that point would amend this ordinance to change it so that that could be that change. Though it can happen. The ordinances are not forever. We change ordinances all the time. But if it gets to that place, then you can't change it through this body and the mayor if something that heinous happened as was predicted.
Well, yeah, we can definitely do that. They can definitely do that, but I mean, if we can avoid that from happening, eliminating that section, that's also possible to be responsible today.
So, I'm not sure, are we engaging in debate on this or?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
You may want to.
If you want to be honest to you, clearly honest, you are limiting the capacity of the city council to do the work. That's what I think it is.
And with that, council president, I think you know the rules by now. You need to, if you really feel that strong.
No, you asked me a question, I respond. There was an answer.
Well, I appreciate that, but you've also admitted the fact that you're giving opinions from the chair, which you.
Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, I respond the question to you. Yes, it is a debate if you want to see it that way, but I'm seeing what you're doing here. And that doesn't avoid me from having a response to a question. You asked me a question, right? That's what it is. Councilor Luzon still have the floor.
Yeah, so through you, Council President, I not removing section, what's the section again?
Section B, second sheet of
Section B,
the
but perhaps adding something for the future council to be able to rename. That is what I'm suggesting.
What do you think?
That we should add something in this before adopting what colleague, Councilor LaPlante is proposing, to be able to rename.
The thing is like if you add something that the council will be able to rename, and then that defeat the purpose of section B, which is say no current park might have a current name or removed or altered by the city council. So there's no way around it other than changing the ordinance once they want to do that.
Council President.
Councilor, no, I mean it's a point of
I'm good.
point of
Thank you,
information
Council
regarding
President.
to this specific, and then I'm just gonna go to Marmol, and then going back to you, Council Marmol.
I do agree that we do need to create my opinion is we do need to have set something in place to avoid any future discussions, debates in terms of naming parks. We have seen previously how that has transpired. But I also do feel that it is a missed opportunity on our end not making adjustments to this proposal. I feel like there's a lot more that could be added to it. And I feel like making any decisions at this point feels rushed. Rushed in the sense of, again, I feel like there's a lot more that we could add to the criteria itself. I feel like there should be a criteria in terms of the format and how we execute naming these parks and whose name is bigger and where is the alignment of these names and who goes where. I think that we also need to add part of this ordinance in terms of whether they are a Lawrence resident or if that even matters, in terms of what type of contributions they have contributed to the city of Lawrence. I feel like it's a missed opportunity not to kind of have those discussions and not having that set into place, by having this ordinance. I feel like it's a good opportunity to have these discussions now. But again, I don't want to feel like we're rushing to adopt something when we could continue, like we can make this better.
Councilor Marmol, we have an ordinance in front of us which is limiting the amount of park that we can name 1 and 2 years, and then the section B of the current ordinance is limiting our capacity to rename any parks that has been named in the past. That's what we have. If the council prefer or choose to adopt, we will call the vote once we finish the discussion, and then we can proceed. Or we can proceed with any motion that is in order. Councilor President Infante.
Thank you. So we just spent like 10 minutes on this, and all of this should have been discussed at the subcommittee level, honestly. Secondly, the concern about whether or not, I agree with this. I think this is fine, especially with the amendment that the city attorney proposed. I agree with what Councilor Luzon mentioned, and there's an easy fix to that. I also agree with the sponsor of this that if a park is named, it should not be renamed. I agree with that because there's a reason why a park was named after an individual. However, if an individual commits a crime, we just spent 3 minutes discussing this, when all we need to do is make a motion to amend section B to include, unless, in the language of, unless someone commits a federal crime or gets in trouble with the law, something like that. That covers Councilor Luzon's concern that we all seem to agree that should be looked at. And actually, I defer to the city attorney how that even would be worded, but that's an easy fix, in my opinion.
Well, do you have a question for the attorney here? Yeah.
Attorney, what language would you suggest that would cover Councilor Luzon's concern about what if someone gets in trouble with the law in the future after something being named after them?
This is not an original idea. I'm going to steal the caller's. You can only name it if the person's deceased. Then they can't commit any more crimes.
Any other? Councilor Levy.
Thank you, Council President. Well, I think that there's so many things that right now is on the table, regarding, so I agree with Council Marmol, I agree with Council Luzon, with Council, there is so many things,
Push the button. Yep.
I think so that if we can send this to the committee of the whole to have more discussion and to bring more idea regarding, because it gotta be more discretion about who is the person that we're gonna nominate for a park, but also the limitation to have 1, 2, 3 people in there. So it's part of like the buildings, the corner and everything. So there are so many building corner that can be used, in case that we cannot get like a park. But I think that maybe we should limit 2, 3, whatever that's, but not just only one for the year. I know that there is not too many parks left, and we have to be very careful, to whom we decided to put the name, right?
Yeah, what question on that? What about if we build 3 parks in 1 year?
What? That's gonna be crazy.
No names.
Okay.
No names.
No names.
We can't. It's no names. We built 3 parks today, or this year. We can't name the park based on this ordinance.
That is what I said. We have to take it like a number, Council President. We have to take it a number, but not be limited like just only to 1. So per year, so maybe 2, maybe 3, or whatever. But I think there is more things that has to be discussed. So more things that we are thinking that we should add in here, and get everybody, in agreement. So. Like that's the city only say, okay, we can nominate a person after they pass away. Sometimes We don't want to do that. We want to recognize a person who is still alive that having done a lot of things in the city. What is going to happen? Well, maybe we can put a clause if the person, committed a crime, but we have to look at the right way on how to do it. That's lady, we won't be any problem or anything against the city council.
Councilors, any other questions?
So I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead, you still have the floor.
Council President, I think so that we should send it, to the committee of the whole and discuss it right in there.
Council President.
All right, any other questions, Councilor?
Council President.
Councilor Esparza Infante.
Thank you. I do not agree that we should send it to the committee of the whole. This is an ordinance. This is not set in stone. If we want specific criteria on what an individual should have in order for something to be named after them, we can submit another agenda item to amend the ordinance. So why are we not continuing with this when we know what the process is to amend an ordinance? And
Yeah, that's an approach, Councilor Vice President. That's an approach, but there is multiple approach that we can deal with this. Councilor LaPlante.
So, just so everybody's aware, the council president did put something before the ordinance committee that deals with, I believe, criteria for naming. So that's already there. We can have that robust debate if the president shows up to one of our ordinance committee meetings and provides a presentation as to what he thinks those should be, then we could have a robust discussion, not only there, but up here at the full council level. So we do have already, I think, a vehicle ready to go. This is a different vehicle. So this is just dealing with parks and it deals with time. That's dealing with criteria. So we'll have another opportunity, and it doesn't deal with the squares, and it doesn't deal, this does not deal with track, anything else outside of a park. So it's very limited in scope. And the reason why it was limited in scope is because I'm trying to avoid having this whole robust, what one person thinks is a good criteria, someone else is not going to think it's a good criteria, and the thing's going to sink. So this is purposely streamlined, but we have another option, and that's currently in the committee. So I would encourage my colleagues to...
Yeah, but I mean, Councilor LaPlante, go ahead, you have the floor.
I would encourage my colleagues to consider that for this proposal right here. Make changes if you think that are required, that really change with the timing, et cetera, because this is what this is all about, and just the parks. But if it goes beyond that, focus on what the council president has done at the ordinance committee, and then listen to what the vice president said regarding changing things in the future. That's always an option. We're not gonna lose that option. Thank you, Council President.
Yeah, responding to your question, Councilor LaPlante, it won't happen because there was a question involved, and it won't be able to happen because the ordinance that we have coming up, we only can name one park in 2 years. So what's the point?
Because, Council President, your proposal doesn't deal with parks. Your proposal with criteria for almost anything. I'm believing there's corners. You didn't go into a lot of detail in the memo that you provided. However, if I read the lines correctly, I think it's beyond, I think it's everything, if I understood what you had on there.
And it will be provided for mostly everything, not everything, but not necessarily. But at the end of the day, parks will be a great portion of it, and we won't be able to. Yeah, because I mean, right now we're building how many parks? We're building quite a few, because we have no name for parks. Because parks is a wide definition. It's sport parks, perhaps baseball, softball parks, and all that stuff. All right, we have an ordinance in front of us. I think that everybody's clear. We have limited amount of parks that we can name in 2 years one, and then we have no current park might have its current name or honorary removed or altered by the city council. So we have two things in front of us, and then if it is no more questions or no other suggestions, I'll call the question. Any other questions, councilors?
No, I want to mention
Councilor Reyes.
to you, Mr. President. We call the question of the ordinance as it is, or we can.
No changes has been proposed.
Not changing. We cannot add some language.
Yeah, we have one that is, on the motion, that was one suggested by the city attorney, which is adopted, not necessarily presented, and that's it. So no changes on the limitations, or no changes on the author of the name. So everything stays the same except for one.
Friendly amendment to change the limited.
So are you accept the friendly amendment to debate the limit? Oh, sorry. Councilor Levy, do you accept the friendly amendment to increase the motion, to increase the amount of parks that could be renamed or named?
Yes.
They could be named, not renamed. Yes. To how many? All of them, right there. Yeah.
You like that idea? No, I think even 2 or 3, because sometimes.
Oh, no limit.
Or no limit, because
No
sometimes
limit.
we don't name any park any year. We're waiting for the last 10 years to name our park, so.
Can I, Council President?
So, hold on a second, let me define this amendment. So it's a no limit then?
No limiting.
All right, do you accept the friendly amendment?
No, that's one, so I think so that we should go at least with 3 parks, okay, limit during the 2 years.
So that's
That's
something that you can, we can work it out?
Yeah.
3 parks in a 2 years period. That's a friendly amendment that's been accepted?
Yes.
Okay, it's been accepted as a friendly amendment. Now we change to 3 parks for the time period of the council.
Council President.
So another, Councilor Vice President.
Thank you. I would like to also offer a friendly amendment if Councilor Levy accepts, and that is to amend Section B to remove the period after council and add, except for viable cause dealing with the law.
So removing the
period. And
the period of the council?
And, yep, and,
So the period of the council is of
inserting a
Section
comma.
A.
No, I'm talking about Section B.
Section B.
At the end of the section, replacing the period with a comma and adding, except for viable cause dealing with the law.
Okay. All right, that's a friendly amendment. Councilor Levy, do you accept that? Section B. No, on the second page of that, second page? Second page?
You want to follow? You do, keep going back.
Keep on going. The first, go to the first sheet. Section B. Do you mind reading Section B again? Okay, so it's been accepted.
Council President?
Councilor Glenn?
I will be voting against this motion. When it's,
I'll call the question and you have your vote.
Well, I will. It's a friendly amendment, so now the next thing you're going to call it. I want people to understand where I'm coming from.
Okay.
Everybody's got the
Councilor
right
Brandt.
to. This is a beautiful country. It's a beautiful. We deliberate, and majority rules, and that's fine. But sometimes you go too far on something, even though we're trying to accommodate something. What we're doing here is essentially going against the entire intent of what this is trying to accomplish.
Right.
And because of that, Council President, I just want people to understand. I'm not upset, but I'll be voting against it because it goes counter to what I think people want to see happen. Thank you.
You know what? At this point, I think we're going to need more discussions, and I'm going to be sending, this item has been referred to the Committee of the Whole. Moving forward with the agenda, on top of that public hearings. So, Madam Clerk, please read the notice for public hearing, item 9723.
Motion to waive the preamble.
There's a motion to waive the preamble.
Second.
Properly second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Public hearing 9723.
Can we talk about that later?
Bring.
Document number 97-23. The purpose of this hearing is to gather testimony, information, and public input concerning the proposed amendment to the revised ordinances of the City of Lawrence to be further amended by adding the following new subparagraph to Section 10.36.010 of the Municipal Code, no parking, to be inserted in the proper alphabetical order. Alder Street, south side from Lawrence Street to Spruce Street. Persons wishing to be heard shall be afforded the opportunity.
Public hearing is now open. Anybody from the public who wishes to speak on this matter? Public hearing is now closed. Motion, councilors, what's the motion?
Council President.
Councilor
Is
Rosado.
it possible to make an amendment to this item?
Sure, there's a motion. You make the motion and then with the amendment.
Okay, so the amendment will be, it will be from Lawrence Street to Walnut Street.
Lawrence to Walnut?
Lawrence to Walnut, and motion to approve with the amendment.
So the motion is to approve from Lawrence to Walnut. The original proposal was from Lawrence to Spruce. So it's going all the way to Walnut now. So, Councilor LaPlante?
I don't know anything about the street, and it's probably the best thing ever thought of, but we haven't had the engineering department configure it. I don't know if that makes a difference, because maybe that part of the street's a little different, maybe it's more narrow, I have no idea. And I'm just wondering if you want to extend that to protect not only yourself through you, but for us on taking a vote, because if that's not such a great idea, then we don't have any backing from the city engineer.
I drive through that street every day. And from Walnut to Spruce, it's wider. There's no issue on double parking, and there's also two businesses on that side. If you prevent parking, it will congest the parking on Hampshire Street. And Alder and Hampshire is a very, very dangerous corner where a lot of accident happens. So the reason why this has been waiting for like a year and a half to be approved. It's been moved around. It was also a murder happened because road rage on that, and that's why we prevented the parking. I don't know if you guys remember when we brought back the National Night Out, we drove in a public bus. We drove in one of the Miva bus through Alder Street. And you know how they have to maneuver to go around. Also, the school, the tar box is asking for that for the longest time. But from Walnut to Spruce Street, they don't have that issue or the double parking. And it's also, again, there's business there, and that block there, it's extremely dangerous. Most of the people that will be able to, they won't be able to park there. They will congest Hampshire Street parking, and they will make it more dangerous for accidents. So that's why I decided to make that amendment.
Council President,
Councilor LaPlante?
thank you so much for my colleague from District C. He's the expert in this district. He knows that better than I could never imagine. I'll follow his lead and take his recommendation. Thank you.
And one more thing,
Councilor
and what it is that if we go back and send it back to the engineer, I'm afraid it's going to take 2 more years to get it approved.
Any other councilors?
Council President.
Councilor Levy?
Okay, because I'm part of this, we should approve or, the part that is right now in place, and we can ask for the extension by sending that piece of street to the engineer.
It's not an extension.
Councilor
It's not an
Rosario.
extension, it's cutting. It's
through.
cutting. It's
Yeah.
not an extension. It's cutting 2 blocks from the original thing. So we're
So
not
essentially, we're reducing
We're
the
reducing.
amount that it was approved
Yeah.
before.
We're reducing the park, the area where they're gonna park, so it's not an extension.
Oh, I
So
thought that it
we
was-
taking away about 1.5 blocks from it.
Or you you instead of prohibiting parking on other areas, you allowing people to park.
I'm allowing parking from Walnut to Spruce on that area. Once again, due to a business there, if there's no parking there, they're gonna congest what it is Hampshire Street and that block there that is extremely dangerous. A lot of accidents happen there. We actually working on that, try to make some improvement in that intersection.
Okay.
All right,
so
that's clear. Any other questions? All right, at this point, I'll call the questions. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. Madam Clerk, please read the notice for item 22424.
Thank you, Council President. Document number 22424 also goes with document number 49924, 524, and 50124, so.
Can we take it as a package? Well, can we get a motion to take all these similar items as a package? Item 22424, 49924, and 524. There's a motion on the table, properly second discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Madam Clerk, please read all the notice altogether.
Yep. The purpose of the hearing is to gather testimony, information, and public input concerning a petition presented by Massachusetts Electric Company doing business as National Grid, requesting the City of Lawrence, Mass. Buy-in through the City Council members for permission to locate poles, wires, fixtures, and/or underground conduits, including any necessary and sustaining protective fixtures along and across the following public ways. Document number 224-24 is to install one JO pole on West Street near Hanlon Court, P12-50, the reference number is 30861643. Document number 49924 is to install one JO pole on Canal Street near Union Street, it's P12-50, the reference number is 308-92276. Document number 500-24 is to install two JO poles on North Canal Street near Amesbury Street. This is P7821-1 and P7821-2. This reference number is 3099872. And document number 501-24 is to install an underground electric conduit at North Canal Street. The reference number is 30958869. Copies of the relevant plans for the above referenced petitions are on file with the Office of the City Clerk and may be viewed upon request. Persons wishing to be heard shall be afforded the opportunity.
We have in public hearings for item 22424, 49924, 524, and also 50124. Anybody from the public that wishes to speak on this matter? Name and address for the record, please.
Vasna Eng, 1101 Turnpike Street, North Andover, Mass. Represent National Grid.
Do you have anything to add to these items?
Yeah, I was just hoping the town will approve the petition for the installation. I believe 3 of the 4 items on this item, I believe it's 499-24, 500-24, and 501-24 are all related to the new school that's going to be in place, I believe. And as for item 224-24, National Grid is looking for a poll petition in order for a system upgrade so we can install new feeder monitors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Councilors, anybody else from the public that wishes to speak? At this time, public hearings are, you wanted to speak? Okay. Name and address for the record, please.
Kelly, and I just wanted to speak that he's been sitting here for a lot of hours, quick items like this, I say, get him in, get him out, before we have these long discussions. That's just how I feel.
No problem. Thank you. Anybody from the public that wishes to speak? Public hearing is now closed. Councilors, what's the motion?
Motion to approve?
Motion to approve item 22424, 49924, 524, and 50124, correct?
That's correct.
There is a motion to approve all those items. Any, can I hear a second? Second by Councilor Reyes. Any discussions on this? I hear none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. At this point, we are finished with public hearing. And there is no communication from the mayor, office of city attorney, and in all of the reports, not all business, nothing on the old business. Councilors, any table matters that wishes to discuss tonight? I hear none, so I go straight to the new business. Item 56824, transfer of the 400,000 ARPA free cash previously allocated to the Hispanic Federation. This is going to the Budget and Finance Committee. Item 56924, transfer of the 50,000. Transfer of 50,000 from retaining earnings to the fiscal year 2025 April budget funds. This is going to the Budget and Finance Committee. Item 57024, authorization to pay prior year's invoice $3,046, travel reimbursement cost. The McCarthy, this is going to the Budget and Finance Committee. Item 57124, no overnight tractor trailer parking, South Broadway, this is going to the Ordinance Committee. Item 57224, convert Lennon Street to one-way, this is going to the Ordinance Committee. Item 57324, stop sign High Street on Highland Ave, this is going to the Ordinance Committee. 57424, amend zoning at Jackson Street from R2 to V1, this is going to the Ordinance Committee. Can this also be referred to the Zoning Board of Appeals so they can start discussing this matter?
Which document was that?
This is item 57424. Item 57524, handicap parking, 128 Hancock Street. This is going to the Ordinance Committee. I believe there is another item similar to this, but we will discuss tomorrow. Item 57624, adopt a citywide speed bump program. This is going to the Ordinance Committee. Item 57724, remove handicap parking, 80 Tremont Street. This is going to the Ordinance Committee. Item 57824, modification of Council Rule 25.
Council President, I have the document that's required for that this evening.
Yep, we have three signatures to require, and we'll be discussing this item at the next City Council meeting. As per rule, this is not going to a committee. Item.
I can tell that's Council Levy, that's gonna be Council Plant.
Fidelina. All right, item 57924, extend 90 days period appointment for the Chief Bonilla, Chief of Police. This is going to the Personnel Committee. 58024, appoint Aida Santana as the Deputy DPW Director. This is going to the Personnel Committee. Item 58124, appoint Rosana del Rosario as a Deputy DPW Director. This is going to the Personnel Committee. And item 58224, appoint of Abuela Pimentel, Director of Planning and Development. This is going to the Personnel Committee. Councilors, I entertain any other motion.
I got Ordinance Committee next Tuesday, 7 p.m.
All right, there is the ordinance next Tuesday at 7.
I have personnel next Wednesday at 6 with an anticipated executive session. I would also like to make a motion to have the city attorney there.
I mean, we have no item
No,
to make a motion.
It was because of this discussion we had.
But I mean, it's
was
no way to
included.
make a motion. It's no way to make a motion. There's no way to make a motion. It's not an item. It's no way to.
Could we make sure that the city attorney is there for the personnel meeting? And then budget and finance Wednesday at 7
Wednesday at 7 and personnel at 6?
with an anticipated executive session.
Yeah. Make sure that you discuss that whatever the secretary section is going to be happening on with the attorney, so we can state the reasons.
Pertaining to the.
No, you just discuss that and then send it over. Yep. And then housing. There is no housing. We do have items for the economic development, so you can definitely request a meeting for the economic development.
What's on schedule for Wednesday? I know budget finance at 7. Is there anything at 6?
Yes, there is personnel and budget and finance at
Thursday, the 12th at 6, economic development.
Thursday, the 12th, economic development. We have housing. There is no items on housing.
We do have that one.
Oh yeah, we have an item.
ADU that we're planning, the planning board is supposed to have their decision done by the time we meet.
Thursday at 7. Okay, no problem. Any other meetings? We have everything, Madam Clerk. Right. No safety. Good on safety. All right, councilors, I entertain a motion.
To adjourn.
There is a motion to adjourn, properly second, discussion, there is no discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it.